Hello, everybody, and welcome back to some lovely, beautiful Wano action here. As we are going into some lovely Division 1 action today. We have a couple of great matches already coming up, as we're going in 1 week after the league launch, so a lot of good games have been played already. And what do we have here with the first matchup? Who do we have, and what do they bring, Chloride?
We have the most loyal American player, Ben Dover, here, playing with the 6th US Infantry, with the Arctic paratroopers here, taking a little bit of a tour through Greenland and probably Kamchatka as well, to reach Moscow, who is being defended by the 2nd Tamanskaya Gvardia Motostrelkovaya Divizia, who is the arguably currently one of the most versatile and consistently powerful heavier divisions. And this being a vertigo map, of course, the positioning between the fast and relatively light infantry division on the Americans and the heavier, more mechanized division of the Soviets means that the northern areas of Center and Dmitry most likely are going to be put into Bendover's control, with not ears, aka Nocturna here, investing heavily into these modernized T72s who are going to be stacking on Boris and trying to basically start the game out by moving into the enemy territory. And after the theory goes, the strategy goes, that after the vertigo mechanized attack gets into Anna, then they are in position to start poking holes into the enemy front lines and slowly either siege the Dimitrian center or just rush into the back point of Ivan, whatever whatever is felt necessary there. Like bend over, especially with the forward deployment advantage, especially with the forward deploying TOW2 missiles and the amazing close quarters capacity of the Navy SEALs and the LRS, they will be they will basically try to immediately start creating a large, wide front lines of very good AT missiles. And the Americans are not lacking in very good AT missiles. The Humvee TOWs are only 80 points, and they are very fastly deployed and carry 8 of them. And with basically the Nocturna here does have excellent recon units. They have the Spetsnaz which is an 8-man recon unit, not a special forces unit, but they do have shock, and they have the ground surveillance radar. Standard Motorasvedka and Rasvedka also around, very important to basically act as a screening force and spotters for those BMP2s and those T-72s. The Gvardeyci guards units have the resolute trait, so they all have an extra level of stress resistance, cohesion resistance. But against airborne and against the Navy SEALs, that's not really going to matter too much because those American units are just larger and so much better armed.
Yeah, and this is a really important match for both of the players. They are in the American group, and they have tough opponents in there as well. So every point they can get here in this match is going to be pretty important because they have Fortitude Fans, Jeremy, and Team and Play to beat. So 3 other top level players in there. So every single point, even a draw in one of these matches, could be decisive in the end. So really key game here on one of the few old maps that we still have in the pool. Vertigo here, just never going to die, it seems like, as people still pick it a lot for the tournament plays as well, as we can see here. First pick in this one. Second game, gonna be American versus Soviet as well, as, yeah, Nocturna is known for playing a lot of Soviet mechanized divisions, and obviously we haven't seen Bendover on a non-American division in a long time. And yeah, 6 US here, one of his favorites, so let's see how this goes. The opener obviously gives him the speed, but we'll see if Nocturna on the other side can get the pressure on with the 3 C-72Bs. The TOW2s are the key aspect here, how the Humvee TOW2s from all the sides can deal with it. The ITO vehicles in the north might want to come down south as well to maybe get some side shots on as well. Really, really interesting opener here from both of these players.
Yeah, Bendover is taking a forward position with the forward deployment units. Now the Navy SEALs unloading and getting spotted by Noctuna's recon. And this is basically the holding these positions is literally just about delaying the enemy. Just gaining the ground that you can and trying to make the trying to slow down the opener push as soon as possible. Oh, and Osa getting taken out by the airborne TOW too. Those are very card intensive Osas. Those are veteran C2 Osas. Half of air defense is now done.
Ooh, another TOW 2 flying in. Doesn't get a hit this time around. MiG-21's coming in to deal with those kind of units. Navy SEAL goes down to 1 hit point, and the TOW 2 goes down completely. MiG-21, one of them getting shut down. The Navy SEAL still on the 1 hit point, might be able to escape here and get repaired. That would be pretty important, but the T-72s arrive right at that moment, so the chances of the Navy SEALs actually running back there relatively slim, as the LRS gets taken out as well. And now the Humvee TOWs have to find the good placements here. First one is starting to aim up here, but the BMP-2s can retaliate. They have the Conqueror's missiles as well, so you have to be somewhat careful even on the longer ranges with your Humvee TOWs. They don't have smoke, but they are fast, so they can break line of sight that way. T-72s here driving in. First one smokes off. Second one gets hit, but is still on 6 hit points here as it is a frontal hit. But the Humvee TOWs do keep the enemy off for now, and now the reinforcements need to arrive here. A-10 coming in with the Osa shut down. It has some options here to get some hits in before the second Osa can push it back. The MP2 goes down. This is a good start for Bendover's play here. And the A-10 doesn't seem to have any opposition in the sky. Osa starts firing, gets a good hit though with the first missile, and immediately turns the A-10 back before the first Maverick can go out, and it gets the shutdown. The triple vet here paying off big time. That's a big problem for Bendover.
Yeah, both of these divisions have like very good air tabs. Like 6th US, of course, we know they have the massive amount of like Vietnam era kind of heavy bombers, Corsairs, very large payloads, and not as much precision bombing as the more modern American divisions. But whereas 2nd Tamanskaya has a mix of some pretty decent like anti-air fighters, so modernized MiG-29s and older generation faster, cheaper fighters, but also the dreaded MiG-21 and the MiG-21 cluster, arguably the most annoying bomber in the game, just keeping up.
But it gets shut down immediately. IHawk gets the kill. The only issue here for Bendover is right now he has no infantry, so the Gaditsi can just run over the open field because the Humvee TOW don't have an MG on them. They can only deal with vehicles, so the Gaditsi get into the forest at Alpha, or at Anna in this case, and that is not going to be nice here. Humvee TOW trying to find some shots against the T-72s, but all the Humvees have to be careful of the Guadizzi in the northern forest, so they can't take the easy shots there. M48's coming around, but the Guadizzi get into the line, get the kill on the Humvee TOW, can push back the M48s as well with their decent RPG 7VL, get a good hit there. This is a big problem. US Marine Corps security forces coming in, but they have to be careful. They might unload at the wrong spot. Yes, they go down in their armored transport, and the rocket Corsair here not really finding value either. MiG-21 HE does get a kill because the IHawk is still reloading here. Can't get a shot back. One T-72 at least goes down, but Anna is getting besieged. MiG-21 number 2 comes around for the Humvee TOW. Might get shot down by the IHawk here. It's flying directly over it. IHawk might have a second shot on it on the way out. And it gets the kill there, so MiG-21 does go down. Anna about to fall. We still have the +2 going on for Bendover. He is getting the northern town, but as 6, you are the lighter division in the late game, so you want to usually get a bit of a bigger tick than just 200 points in the early game.
Yeah, we're seeing like the strength of 2nd Tamanskaya in having they have so much versatility in their tank tab. They have both the modernized T-72s, but also if they're facing a heavier tank division, they have the T-80U, the super tank, the highest tech tank in Soviet arsenal. But they don't need to bring it out because their Bendover can only really bring out these ACAV pattern tanks, but also mixed up with these like relatively elite infantry and just good reliable mech forces, your BMPs and your BTR-80s and T-72s, you get the kind of tempo boost of having older generation fighters. And the weakness of the older generation fighters, of course, is that Eyehawks can one-shot them. They only have 8 health, but MiG-21s are like the potential of having both the strong ground force and then the ability to throw MiG-21s to remove key elements such as these missile cars that we're seeing here. Seem like Nocturna is everything seems to be going according to plan. Bendover still has this wide front line, as we can see. The Ito is kind of threatening these roads here, and the Humvee AGL is still kind of just existing out there in the north. But the most important, the actual threat, which was the Ito car, was taken out by one of those cluster planes. Also, a little detail in the MiG-21 cluster is that it has 2 bomb slots, which means that it can drop part of its bomb load at a one target and a second part at a second target, meaning that against like weak soft targets like these cars, it is excellent. Oh, that LRS getting shot down by, I believe, actually autocannon fire from the BMP2, upvetted with the leader there. Pretty nice accuracy, 76%.
Yeah, it seems like it was a bit misread in the positioning here by Bendover. In total, he lost 3 important infantry units here in a row in transports. 1 Navy SEAL went down on the way to Anna. He lost now that LRS, and before the US Marine Corps and Security Force, which maybe, if it would have unloaded a bit earlier, could have contested Anna a bit longer and allow the other units there to arrive. But with Anna now being lost, he has to play the weird around the edge long game, trying to get the enemy into a position where he maybe can abuse his strong air power. If you get enough time and can assemble 6, 7 airplanes maybe, or maybe all the way to up to the 9 slots that you get as 6 US, then that obviously is always a big threat. But that is not going to be easy here. The pressure is still on, so you still have to buy frontline units at the same time. And here we go, Prowler coming in, trying to catch some OSAs off guard, but good micro there by Nocturna, immediately turning it off, knowing that this is one of the key ways he could lose the long game, so immediately turning it off there. MiG-23 on the hunt for the Prowler. It has pretty mediocre missiles, so chances are the Prowler will make it out alive, but gets hit
Oh, but
once.
Bendover's microed the Ito and got the T-72 kill after a stun. Very, very nice little detail here from Bendover. Abusing this position of still holding the Citadel. With T-72 from Nocturna, with Motorasvedka and a Plamya, they are going to try to capture the Citadel in the middle. It's currently a strong point for Bendover's defense, basically keeping up this wide front line and allowing basically cutting off the road to Anna, even if it's not perfect. So the next logical step for Bendover is to take this out and then leverage the Citadel position in the middle to start sieging Dimitri. But yeah, we're seeing 3 BMP2 squads now getting ordered in. Man, this is not going to be the worst possible fight for Bendover. There is a long like plane that the troops need to cross to reach the Citadel. So with decent recon coverage and ATGMs, as well as occasional air power, they can probably inflict quite a lot of damages. The problem is that Bendover's aircraft just have not been valued. So much potential has been lost with those OSAs performing so well.
Yeah, and we have more recon here coming around. We have new Humvee toes in the south, so the push towards Ivan would be really risky for Nocturna right now. But that's not the plan here now. Nocturna is trying to go about it methodically, trying to take out the center, and then pushing from there. And on the other side, we have these M48s coming around. That's the only tank that you get. It has decent penetration for being such an old tank. 19 penetration at 1,925 meter range is a really solid round. But the issue is that these tanks don't have smoke. They are also on reservists, so they don't get great accuracy on the main gun, and they get a lot of stress. So once they get hit by the enemy, they are pretty much combat inefficient. And that means that really dealing with BMP2s and T-72s is not really their thing. They can deal with BMP2s if they push too close, but they're mostly here to just keep the enemy honest and let them bring ATG weapons everywhere, because otherwise they could just push forward with soft damage all around. Navy SEALs now trying to cross the open field, bend over, desperately trying to clear out the south, realizing that otherwise the pressure on the Citadel will be too big and he needs to strike now. But the question is, can that work out? I believe it could if he gets some air power on target here, but without air power, it's going to be really tough. The Navy SEALs also being the one that take the front of the assault here and getting shot up by BMP-2s, that's not great. The Airborne Dragons and Alaskan Cav Scouts coming around it, but the BMP-2 here really on the hunt now. Navy SEALs still alive. If you can keep them alive, that would be great. We have a Prowler, we have an A-10. Gadvitsi BMP going down here in the center, but they made it into a town and 3 more coming up, so this center position is going to fall, meaning that you really need Anna back now. A-10 not finding line of sight just yet. There we go, finds the CV, but doesn't find the BMP-2s just yet. MiG-23 coming around, Prowler can't help. IHawk can though, finds a good hit. A-10, can it help itself? No, it can't. But there is a VADS in the north, so the MiG-23 still might go down. There we go, MiG-23 goes down. Good trade for the A-10, a couple of BMP-2s shut down as well. So the A-10 here is in a decent position. And Anna actually might fall here to bend over again. That is really, really crucial. He has a CV up there as well. That is starting to move now into the zone, starting to try to get the pick up again. Whilst at the same time, Nocturna is trading Anna for the center citadel, kind of getting the front line a bit shorter. But oh, Humvee from the north, that is a really risky unit here to fight against as well.
Yeah, this the issue with Bendover's forces has been that they've actually been running out of missiles. A bunch of ITO units and TOTO units have been in nice positions if there had been just a little bit of extra supply, which we haven't seen in large numbers. Maybe more that could have translated into extra kills. Now, there is a bunch of information that Bendover has about where the enemy tanks are, and especially that northern, yes, one more BMP removed by that Humvee tow. As you can note, there are no recon units out here. The MiG-21 is going to dive in, basically looking at the position, but still no recon in the front line. Only a single Spetsnaz squad, single Spetsnaz guy holding the southern area with a wounded Motorasvedka in the middle. So there is potential for an infantry attack here. The mech is not performing perfectly. The Acacia is not necessarily getting the best targets. The problem with Bendover kind of possibly trying to apply any pressure at this point is that his forces are very battered. They need to be resupplied. There needs to be just more redundancy. There needs to be more...
T-72, can it smoke off in time? It eats a hit.
No.
It eats a second hit. It got both of them frontally though, so it is still alive. M48's here, pushing forward, getting the BMP-2, so Nocturna's southern flank is rapidly falling apart here. There is a push towards Boris possible now, and that would be a disaster, because getting back into Boris as the division with the weaker infantry is such a pain, because that means the enemy can go into the southern forest here, and then can always start flanking you from there. You are not allowed to lose Boris here as the mechanized division usually. You want to keep it on the open field, and it seems like Nocturna was too overly ambitious with the center push here, left his guard down a bit around Anna and Boris, and might pay the price for this now. This is really, really scary situation here right now. T-64 trying to rotate around, Prowler not finding the Osa there. Fortunate times there for Nocturna. Has an Acacia out now, trying to deal with the Humvees. Most likely wishes that he wouldn't have bought the Acacia instead of buying 2 or 3 more infantry units for the front line right now. But is trying to use it at least to take some Humvee tows out at the same time. CV gets in here for Bendover, gets the +4 online. T-64 did make itself, but new forces need to come here. As it seems like Nocturna is doubling down on the northern push right now. Has taken out most of the forces there, only some Pathfinder recons, but how much does that matter if he loses the south? I'm not sure. +4 currently going on here. Corsair HE coming in, and that's another issue when you spread wide here as second with only OSAS. You can't protect it all with your AA. Your AA is short range here, so that's an issue as well. And yeah, looks relatively solid right now for Bendover, with those airplanes coming around and with him being on a +4.
Yeah, it's a big coup to actually get into that +4 right now. But I think Nocturna correctly realized that there's so much investment happening, so much units that have been lost by Bendover, that there has to be some kind of a gap here. And is betting that, or Nocturna's betting that there isn't a proper defense up north, and they're correct. The F-15 performing quite nicely against the MiG-29, not getting a kill though. There is a second F-15 currently being bought. Does not survive. Second F-15 kind of has to come back there, because that's the only way to actually stop these Soviet troops from entrenching up to the up and around Dmitry. And Dmitry has so much cover and so many nice positions to cover the reinforcement roads, especially with the BMP-2 Conquerors missiles, that if they are...
M48's getting side shots on a T-64, getting the kill there. Sapericum Roddy coming in right now. Mi-24V Rocket trying to help out there. Yeah, the northern push is going well for Nocturna, but both here currently on the line. Both of their pushes have to work out. The Mi-24 here really clutch, killing one M48, might get another one. Does miss with the first missile, but another one immediately coming up. Finds the CV down there as well. Okay, it seems like Bendover might not have pushed with quite enough forces at once. His infantry is not in Boris, and that is a mistake on Bendover's side in my eyes. He should have pushed up the airborne dragons. He should have pushed up the Ask and Calf scouts to hold those positions to be able to reinforce into it. Because if he now loses the north whilst not having Boris, then he is the one in big trouble. It's really a really swingy game right now. We have another A-10 coming in that could deal a lot of damage, as Bendover is trying to get infantry back into Dmitry. A-10 does spot the first BMP-2, should be taking it out quite nicely. Good smoke there. Special threat goes down though. BTR-80 goes down as well, so decent damage nonetheless by the A-10. Has more ammo for another good run here. And at the same time, Acacia here taking out a great recon infantry position of Bendover here. So both sides taking heavy casualties, and it's so important for Nocturna right now that he got back into Boris. And that means once more Bendover now needs to win the northern duel, and is currently still stuck with that BMP-2. His Navy SEALs once more getting chewed up out in the open. His A-10 desperately tries to get back on target there. But with the two BMP-2s still around, this is a really scary spot for him.
Yeah, this is so far, like, the OSAs are being short range or medium range air defenses. They are all down in the southern lane, but Nocturna is putting up infrared Strela 10s, which are short range AA defenses, up to cover the north. And if the Pathfinders or any other recon...
Bomber comes in for the OSAs. OSAs are still turned off. Gets one OSA. Nearly gets to Mi-24. That would have been an amazing double kill here. So Nocturna getting after... and the Prowler gets one more kill here as well. Both OSAs down. Oh no, this is a disaster for Nocturna. Now the south is open for any kind of bombardment here. A-10 now coming around for the south as well. Losing both OSAs right now is a critical loss. He still holds Boris now, as Bendover didn't push deeper. But A-10 here coming after another infantry unit is now out of ammo, but did do a lot of good damage here. MiG-29s trying to get them. These are the most modern MiG-29s that the Soviets get, so they have 40% ECM, so they can survive against an F-15 relatively well as well, and they make it out here. But Mi-24 goes down at the same time. A-10 at least got. Bendover now fighting infantry fights in the north. Navy SEALs finally in some infantry clashes here, and that means they will utterly dominate these Guardezi. And the BMP-2s need to get back into business. Next A-10 coming up. Does it spot the Strelas? Yes, it does spot the Strelas. Strelas desperately try to break line of sight. Not even quite sure. Oh yeah, the airborne dragon actually see them. Strela get one hit. MiG-23 gets the finishing job. So both sides trading up there, but Corsair comes in for the kill against the MiG-23. That's not something that you see all that often, and the Corsair rocket here now trying to get some shots off. It's a rocket plane, so not amazing against tanks, but really important and clutch kills here on both sides right now. And Bendover actually might make it happen in the north again. He has pushed all the infantry out. He is shooting at the Saperi with the Airborne Dragon. BMP2 can't really help out there right now. Light Rifle Leader back on the way, and at the same time, Nocturna pushing it back a bit in the south. Has the Acacia, but it hasn't fired super much lately. And the Humvee Toes did a decent job of surviving the first couple of rounds. As more Strellas pushing on the way in here. Really, really intense game here right now. But Nocturna needs to get the momentum back because he only has 18 minutes now for these 1,000 points in difference.
Yeah, and if you look at the south, Bendover has an LRS unit that spots basically most things happening on Boris. So F-15 surviving, the twin fighters. Corsair going in with the AIM-9L missiles, actually performing very well. Those are the second best AIM-9 missiles. The only better ones are the M missiles of A-10s and F-16s.
Actually, Chloride, the West Germans have the second best AIM-9L.
Oh yeah, that's true. They have the LI variant.
But yeah, it's a really solid short range
Who
missile.
plays Luftlande? Luftlande is barely in the game, okay? Like, you can't forgetting about Luftlande. Anyways, basically, anytime Nocturna starts doing movement, such as right now, Bendover can spot this. So Bendover probably has a pretty nice idea of the situation around Boris.
MiG-29 versus F-15 on the short range. That's a pretty even fight. Both sides having 50% ECM, 40% ECM. And the MiG-29 is turning better, but the Corsair on its heel once more. The Strellas in the south can't assist this fight. They are too far out. HE Bomber coming in for another Strela push. And yeah, it's only 2 Strellas, but they get the kill with a really short range fired missile. So Corsair trades out for the Strela, and that also is a way of how Bendover's air can be neutered if he just doesn't have any strike aircraft. The Prowlers and the F-15s don't really matter that much. They can still strafe your infantry, so they're not useless in the ground engagements, like the F-15s can. The Prowlers don't have any gun pods, but it's going to be way less impactful to and dealing with the T-72s and co. So still, I think this is a fine trade here for Nocturna, killing that HE bomber. Acacia coming in again, but it's 16 minutes, and the North seems to go Bendover's way again. Nocturna about to go center again, and that kind of means that what Nocturna has to do now is setting up a push that can go to Ivan, and that is not going to be easy at all. BMP2's here desperately trying to defend against some Toe Cobras. Toe Cobras getting pretty close, so the first one likely gonna go down, but the second one here getting on target. Good smoke there from Nocturna, great reaction, but the Toe Cobra together with the infantry here still should do the job. Light Rifle Leader getting on the way there. Really, really intense little fight here.
Yeah, and by the way, that bombing of that AA unit also spotted by the LRS down the southeast. That's such a value unit right now, and but yeah, it seems like Nocturna is still wanting buying a second Acacia, getting some Saperi RPO and an extra Spetsnaz with some supply. It seems like this is the next plan for Nocturna is to just try to go into Anna again. And that's probably the correct choice, considering North is already lost. There's a Saperi Komroti up there in the forest that can try to walk back down later, but Bendover is exploiting the advantage up north by putting in an ITO car that is already trying to take some pot shots against supply trucks and such, but most importantly, just getting a little bit of extra recon. Very, very important to have a proper understanding of what the enemy is doing and where they're going when you are basically incapable of attacking at this late of stage of the game, which is what the 6th US is. You need to have the recon so that your aircraft can just keep the enemy on their toes.
And MiG-23 here goes down. MiG-21 HE versus of Eagle. That's not a good way to go here. Eagle gets the kill, and the rocket planes are going to be annoying. And there we have a GG, and Bendover has done it again with his signature division by now, the 6 US. In the hands of Bendover, is playing really, really well. And I like his openers. I really like the plays. And yeah, Nocturna looked like he got that down when he got into Anna, but I feel like he overdid it a bit with the resources he put in trying to get the center point there. and he then got double slapped first in the south, then in the north again, and yeah, just overstretched a bit with the second. So GGVP here. Well played by both players. Really excited for game number 2. This was one that was on the edge for a long, long time, but in the end, air power did still prevail.
Yes, the like I think there were a win condition for Nocturna that basically involved just playing a little bit more less aggressively throughout the mid game. Like there was a series of very tank heavy pushes that should not have happened because they allowed for this whittling down of the core armor force. And if that core armor force had been allowed to grow into a massive size, then even the aircraft wouldn't have necessarily been able to deal with it. Also, it would have been a constant target for the aircraft to strafe, which would make it easily defensible with the short range and medium range AA that second Tamanskaya has. But what happened was that the push into the Citadel, and then that really confident counter push into that under-defended Boris kind of sealed the deal to me, because after that, there was always going to be a recon advantage for Bendover.
Yeah, really, really well done job here by these players, and I'm quite excited for the second match, as that is a great matchup as well, an OG matchup here on a OG map as well. So both of these players here going for the OG ones, Black Forest and Vertigo, and 8VS versus 79 is going to be the matchup here in the second one. So quite excited for that one as well. Quick break, guys, and then we're gonna be back with 79 versus 8VS between Nocturna and Vandover. And here we go. Game number 2. Bendover up 1-0 over Nocturna. And as we explained earlier, this is a really important match here for both of these players, because if you don't get points out of this match, then your chances of making it in the playoffs in this group are going to be really, really tough with human plays, with Jeremy, with Fortitude fans there. The really high caliber players up against you. And yeah, they are also playing for some hot money. We're already at $200 thanks to all of your support guys there. And you can make it higher, as always, by clicking the claim code button up here and just adding 25 cents immediately to the prize pool. The faster we claim the first 50 codes, the faster we can get to the next 50 codes, and so on, guys. So, yeah, click the claim code button and let us add free money to the community just by clicking that button up there. And you can do that with the link in the chat right now. You can also find the brackets and all with the command bracket in the Twitch chat or in the YouTube description right now as well. And with that said, let's have a look here on the left side. Bendover coming around with the 8US, with the OG division here coming around. And this is going up against the other OG division. And that might be the better one right now, because 79th is really pushed at the moment.
Yeah, hold on. My monitor turned itself off. Yes, you can hear me. Good. The fun thing is that on paper, 8th US seems like an excellent counter to 79th. It gets tanks that are just slightly better, both tanks that are just slightly better than the best tanks of the 79th, but also it gets lighter tanks that can be used to counter the light mechanized, the BMPs, and all of that jazz. It gets the LRS, which is the American equivalent to the Spetsnaz GRU. So at least there is not an immediate forward deployment supremacy for 79th. And also, even though it doesn't have the infantry fighting vehicle Bradleys, it has the recon Bradleys, the CFVs. And with those, it basically means that there are forward deploying very well like armed TOW2 carriers with recon right at the start, as well as the lighter variant, the TOW1 missile M150. And with Americans having both good close range assault troops, with the Rangers having a bunch of Dragon missiles that are not really overkill because they are going to be facing so much mech. The on paper and even iHawks and helicopters and all of this, 8th US on paper seems like it's kind of designed to fight against the 79th. So why Protoss is 79th considered widely to be the more powerful division?
It has a fantastic air tap currently. The bombers of theirs got buffed with the high altitude drop changes. It has a really, really fast opener, the TO-55s. The T-80Bs got buffed as well. BB-2s are still really powerful, and yeah, just has a all-around good combined arms. The BMP-2 also is pretty efficient against the Bradley. Like, yeah, the Bradley has a great missile against the tanks, but when it comes to its autocannon plus the missile, it's not that much better than a BMP-2, and it is a good bit more expensive. So that is a matchup that you don't really like there either. And yeah, the infantry on both sides, you have a bit better infantry as 8th, but it's not by such a massive margin that you can just push on that reliably either. The Rangers are nice, but they're not the best special forces that we have in the game currently.
Yeah, if I would answer that question, I would answer that 79th gets amazing tempo. 79th with that TO-55 flame tank opener can start out the game punching. It doesn't have to wait. It doesn't have to really build up. It can start, like as we can see now, first minute buys of T80, a second T80BV. So this is clearly going to try to be an immediate tank mill with the SU-20, the 24s and 25s moving in and getting kills on any occasional Abrams tanks or crucial Bradleys. It's like the ability for a tank division to play this aggressively, even if it's not necessarily opener aggro, it's not forward deployment aggro, but like this upvetted combat group with a Tunguska and a Koob and like so much firepower, it's really difficult to deal with. And 8th US has to basically play from a relatively like weak and slow opening position and then build up the counter to this force that already exists. And it can get lucky, it can get a bunch of side shots, it can get some good engagements, or the blob can like miss micro itself. But in practice, Nocturna probably not gonna do that. So Bendover has to really be on the ball right from the start. And also Nocturna having a lot of good recon right from the start. Up that veteran C1 Motorasvetkas with the Rasvetka BMP is very powerful. And the Spetsnaz DRUs being able to forward deploy and get the great spotting out there means that the blob is always going to have targets by the time it arrives into the battle space, which is right now.
TO-55 here coming around. Coop going for the F-16C here, not quite finding the hit there. TO-55 getting another shutout. MP2 finds a mech rifle, and we have Modvajvedka, Rangers, and all coming around. And there we go, Ranger Dragons moving forward. M1 Abrams getting into the fight here with the T-80. T-80 engine destroyed. Ooh, that could be clutch, but I don't believe there's a plane ready to strike that. There is no artillery ready yet, so for now, that is something that can be fixed. MTLB already on the way, and the M1 Abrams on the other side is not in the best spot here either, and has to get the hell out of there, as it gets a TO-55 kill after all. Ito now in an interesting spot here as well. The T-80B, does it show side armor? No, it does not. So that likely will save it here. The Ito has to disengage there as it got spotted and is being fired upon. The Ranger Dragons fighting the Modvajvedka. If they can get the kill there, and they likely will, that is a nice way of blinding the line of sight here for Nocturna a bit through the northern edge. But yeah, Rangers, they're finally getting the kill. 2 T-80Bs here through the center, finding some value here. Mech rifle going down, but both sides still have the key tanks alive. The M1 Abrams needs to get repaired here. M35 supply is around to get the repair going there. But at the same time, Nocturna got the north center for free for now, which is really interesting, because usually the lighter, the more infantry-focused division is the one that grabs center. But this time around, it's the heavier mechanized division that gets it, whilst at the same time, Feodor going to bend over. So kind of playing off the strengths of the divisions to just maybe overwhelm the enemy in another way, like bend over clearly trying to outflank Nocturna once more, whilst Nocturna just trying to go for the killing blow towards Anna, it seems here, with a massive armored blob.
Yeah, one advantage that is significant advantage that 8th US has is that they have a heavier cannon. The M110A2 howitzer getting bought out here following 2 M1A1 Abramses. Now, this is some very heavy equipment, and the M110 is by this early on, under like around 5 minutes, is pretty good in my opinion, because it forces the enemy, it punishes the enemy for just standing still and building up. The M110 can do good damage even against the heaviest tanks here, so it is going to incentivize Nocturna to try to move away from this concave that the forces have now put themselves in Boris. And with the LRS out here, once again, they can just spot everything. They're moving down now, dodging that salvo, and but now they have the understanding that this has to be a more mobile game. And with the M1A1s being the better tanks pretty significantly, but also crucially more expensive and more difficult to bring out, Bendover is likely not going to be able to keep up this permanent printer, because they are more expensive than a single minute's income. 15 points, yes, but still more expensive than a single minute's income.
Yeah, LRS here coming up again. MR10 moving closer to find some better shots in the future. M1A1 Gets a good hit against the TO-55, but the TO-55 likely gonna take out the Rangers. Bradley in the north finds a BMP-2. Ranger Dragon there coming around, trying to find another one, but that one got out of range, so they should disengage here before they get chewed up by the autocannons. The M1 Abrams in the north rotated around a bit as well, and the big tank blob of Nocturna here with 2 T-80s is moving around. He gets now to push through Feodor. No planes here, no A10s coming out just yet to try to deal with that. And yeah, the M1A1 versus TADB fight's gonna be interesting here, as this position in this is also, yes, it gets outflanked from all the sides, but it also allows you to immediately swing around your tank blob way faster than the M1A1s on the outside can swing around. So the M1A1s always have to be careful to not get outnumbered with a quick, swift move of the TADBs, and that they instead get the flanks going on, and that is risky for both sides here currently, the positions they're in. The M110 could help out with that, trying to catch some of them off guard, but nice push there now by Nocturna into the northern little industrial area here, cleaning up the LRS and the Ranger Dragons, and likely gonna clean out the Ito there as well.
Yeah, the next salvo is hitting the BMP-2D here, but that is a that's not much. That's not much considering how great of a position this is now for Nocturna, having opened up both Fedor by putting the T-80BV to hold this with the Rasvedka. Oh, and the Rasvedka take out the LRS right before they unload. Huge tempo hit against Bendover, and losing a LRS just like that. It could have basically spotted for the LGB bomber. It could have helped destroy the T-80 or even destroy the Cube even if it was in the right position. But now the LGB is just hanging around background, and yeah, losing that industrial area here, getting a +2 at this position is a huge problem for Bendover. Now Bendover is getting some more recon, more tanks, and 2 more infantry squads to hold the middle. But if the counterattack really is forces from Anna moving down to Boris, it's not. It's gonna be a grind anyways. And if there is a like 79th is better at replacing its forces because they are slightly cheaper, and also BMP2s are great on defense.
Yes, and also more numerous, both in the tanks and the IFV departments especially. But the M3A1 Bradley CFV is still around. It survived a frontal hit there and got out with smoke. The Vajvetka currently, out of all their shots, likely going to get overwhelmed now by the M1A1 here. But the TADBV and the Conquerors behind it mean that the M1A1 can't get in there on its own. LGB could help out, as in the meantime, the M110 here desperately tries to get some good shots on target as well. Nearly got the coup, but the coup is still alive. That would have been a great assistance for the F111 LGB that still tries to get a bombing run out here as well. TADBV is the target now. M1A1 already smoked, so the TADBV... Wait, it's firing an ATGM now. That is an interesting choice there. That was active micro there, switching between the gun and the ATGM. That's an old trick from Wargame Red Dragon, but I believe it's not as efficient here as it was in Wargame Red Dragon. So M1A1 there getting the kill together with the LGB bomber, and is still alive, and that's a problem here for Nocturna in the south. But he at least gets 2 BMP1s with infantry inside, and no assisting infantry here for Bendover just yet to retake the center. At the same time, though, M1A1's now going for the infight in the center, attacking the Motostrelki there, getting a couple of infantry kills already, but the TADBVs are there as well. ATGMs flying into the side of an M1A1 does miss there, but the M1A1 is stunned and combat inefficient, so 2 TADBVs could overrun it, has to get the hell out of there. And at the same time, Bradley in the south is in danger as well. Conquerors might find another side shot here against the M1A1. It rotates around, good micro there from Bendover, but gets hit another time, is out of the action, and the +2 here for Nocturna keeps on ticking, and that is really important on Black Forest. We have covered that many times. A tick on this map is not easy to gain, so any bit of point lead that you can gain on this map is pretty substantial. M110 here now coming in with artillery towards that Conquerors, and yeah, Nocturna really profiting from getting that really easy center capture in the early game. Oh, and
Yeah,
there come the planes. First cluster is out. Does miss the M1A1. Second cluster doesn't drop. And the first Su-24 might go down. No, it barely survives there. Gets only hit by the Chaparral. iHawk missing 2 shots. That is pretty fortunate for our player in red here. But the M1A1 still being alive means that that cluster bomber run, not that important. Killed the sniper team and the supply truck. But that's not all that key here right now at this moment. The M1A1 is the important unit in itself.
yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the recon situation, considering Bendover has the LRS, has the snipers, has the Bradleys, and has the M150A1s. And that's a 4 slots of recon already. That's when the slots become very expensive after that. And it could be that there just is not the standard 4-man scouts units that could, that you can afford to lose and keep sending them up here. And losing so many recon squads, losing the sniper just now, basically put a stop to Bendover's advance back into Fedor. And if the recon gaps here could be a massive issue on the long term. We're only 13 minutes in with the game, and M1A1s are and TOW2s are best when they're on long ranges. The short range fights, the T-80's armor and damage differences are not as relevant, and their one advantage against the Abramses is their autoloader, the 10 RPM autoloader, which means that they don't suffer a rate of fire decrease when they are on low cohesion, unlike the American tanks. And now we're seeing that they are pushing, removing a Chaparral, doing huge damage in those Abramses.
Yeah, and the Abrams, the second one, was still a bit stressed out, did miss its first shot here, is now running backwards, trying to get out of dodge. There is still another M1 Abrams, but it does get spotted here, and now gets opened up by all tanks in that blob and gets taken out. That is a major, major issue right now. A10 is on the way. Even an F-111 cluster bomber could be a decent choice at this point, but I don't believe it will be in the deck. And yeah, this situation here currently not looking great for Bendover. HGM coming around, not quite getting the kill. And yeah, A10, AT here, trying to get around to get another hit on to the enemy target here. Whilst iHawk on the battlefield, MR10 aiming up to deal with the Modrach Redga. That should be an easy kill. But outside of that, the situation here currently for Bendover relatively critical, as he doesn't even do a probing attack towards center. If he would have gotten to center with a light attack of infantry up there a couple of minutes ago, like this whole situation right now wouldn't be so troublesome for him. But the +2 constantly taking up here for Nocturna is a major issue at this moment.
Yeah, at least the Fedor attack seems to be going pretty decently. Just the M1 Abrams going in there, removing some of those BMP-1s and allowing the mech rifles to move in, engage. Mech rifles larger and stronger squad than Motostrelki, so they will be able to win that. But yeah, the Protoss can't show this because the UI is pretty bad and it would spoil the game if Protoss showed the player perspectives. But I am looking at them pretty decently here. And yeah, the recon gaps, every time Bendover loses a recon unit, especially down in the southern flank, it's a huge issue. And now the A10 here, a good example, the A10 is only moving in to engage after the T-80s try to move themselves to counter this Fedor attack. But yeah, this A10 has been hovering out for a long time, and this 79th gets very good air defenses.
Yeah, gets a kill against the TO-55, but not a crucial hit against any of the T-80s. And the Bradley does go down there to the ATGMs of the T-80Bs.
Blind.
And that is really bad. Tunguska under fire by the MOR-10 now. Second MOR-10 finally being bought. We have another A-10 coming around as well to take advantage once the Tunguska at least is combat inefficient, hopefully dead, as it gets hit there by the artillery. But you have only one MOR-10. It's always a bit clutch if you get the kill. It does get the kill this time around, so that is important. Second MOR-10 coming around here now as well. But the M1A1 Abrams is here now. They are only 3 in numbers, whilst on the other side we have a decent amount of T-80s. I believe it's 4 or 5 by now. 4 on the front line, the first IZD coming up, so 5 soon. and a good couple of those EMPs running around all across the board as well. And this is not going to be easy to push into. 8th, really not the greatest division at pushing in general. Is M1A1s are great at dealing damage and fighting, but they are only a single tank, so they can get stressed out quite quickly, and then your push is over. And you don't have any IVs to rely on, no autocannons really that you want to push with. The Bradley is a defensive unit as well. And the same goes for most of your infantry. Like, you have great dragon infantry that is fantastic at defending against lightly armored vehicles, but they're too costly to just push over the open field with. You don't have any spammable infantry there, and that's a really big problem here right now.
Oh, the combat engineering vehicle getting taken out. That was one of the main weapons that could have helped in actual attacking. The CEV can do massive damage against infantry, even in buildings. Now the LGB bomber going down there after the A10 was suppressed away, removes the ATBV, but meanwhile a MUT CP gets taken out by this tank force, and so not putting a stop into the Fedor tick right now. And yeah, I think you're very correct about that 8th US. The units of 8th are just way too expensive to attack with. You just want to you want to win on trades, and being under +2 like this, and being under +2 at an enemy who can just keep on churning out coups and churning out like the T80s. It's not the best position. Like the M1 Abramses.
And when everyone goes down in the south, as the BMP got a side shot there with an ATGM, next M1A1 tried to hunt the T80s, the damage and stun down T80s down, but now runs into some ATGM opposition as well, and he's now itself the hunted one. Akacia under firing onto the TOW 2. This is not looking good. TOW 2 goes down, so no real fallback line for the M1A1 here. That is heavily stressed and heavily slowed, and we have the Hunter T80BV on the other side. The IZD with the better engine, and they get the kill here. M1A1's both down, and this is really coming at a critical moment, and at the moment where there's little comeback potential for Bendover at this point.
Yeah, it's just every engagement, the tank blob just moves in and gets a nice kill, and then moves back, knowing that it doesn't have to do anything. This is like the worst possible situation for 8th, because like 8th has all the tools to punish mech blobbing, but just Nocturna has not given them the chance. Nocturna did not start moving out with these tanks before building up a very comprehensive AA network. A less experienced player might get a bit excited and send their tanks out there, supported by a single coup, and then when the single coup misses its first shots, the A10 can just destroy the whole convoy, but that's not happening here. And Nocturna here, you can see moving a Motora Svedka on the open ground, always just a little bit further in, actually having it on return fire so it doesn't reveal itself. And as they taught me in the Finnish army, the unit attacks with its recon. When the recon moves somewhere, it facilitates the actual combat operations. And now, if the recon spots the mech rifles, all the tanks can just start lobbing shots at long range.
Yes, and we also see fantastic movement, like little foot movement basically here by Nocturna, always just keeping his units sidestepping so that an M110 salvo likely can't just get on target. And the M110s really have been neutered by that. Like, the amount of kills that they have gotten has been pretty minimal, considering how many shots have been fired by them and how long the first one has been on the battlefield by now. None of the tanks have gone down to them. AA has been reduced a bit, but not by much, and that is really well played gameplay against an opponent with 2 M110s on the battlefield, and they kind of are the way back in often in the trade scenarios for 8VS, but this isn't the case here. We see an M1 Abrams CP here now coming around in the south, and we finally see some probing in the north. Bendover sending an M150 there, but by now there was enough time for Nocturna to set up a couple of defensive units up there so that it's not an easy position to just run over, and with that time, then Nocturna can invest into aircraft, helicopters, or reinforcements to go up there as well. And the M1 Abrams doesn't even capture the south, gets pushed back by the AT weapons here, is routed, and that means that the tick does stay on a +1, and with only 18 minutes left on this map, even a +2 at this point wouldn't save Bend Over. He needs to get a bigger tick than that, and this on this map means that you need to completely dismantle the enemy, and with only 17 minutes left, and with so many TADBs here, and such a good combined arms on the board for Nocturna, that is very unlikely to happen.
Yeah, and we can see like even the BRDM2 Conquerors, so many Conquerors missiles and Fagot missiles have been making sure that the Abramses always just get a few shots before they have to either run or get completely suppressed, putting them under the risk of getting side shot and removed from the game. And like Nocturna is revealing that there is a card of BRDM2 Conqueresses. Those things have 10 missiles at 20 penetrations. They deploy very quickly. It's the Soviet alternative to the Humvee TOW we saw in the last game, and just there is no reason for Nocturna really to change their strategy in any ways, because Bend Over has to keep attacking with less smaller numbers. And now, especially with the helicopters, I think they'll be able to push and take at least contest the northern point of center, the sawmill up there. With the LRS in tow, they can maybe even try to cut off the reinforcement road for a moment. But we haven't seen any helicopters come out from Nocturna. 79th does get them, and we already know that there is a bunch of aircraft in here. Any kind of proper investment into a full-on attack up north can and will probably be exploited by Nocturna just attacking at the other fronts. And that's what you kind of want to do at this point of the game, is that if you just keep applying pressure, just moving your Motostrelki and your ATGMs forward, you keep forcing your enemy to reinforce units that they've lost, that is how you can take the wind out of the sails of any of these secondary attacks happening right now.
Yeah, the M110 is currently not even firing, as there's so much happening at the same time. Bend Over trying to get the push into the north, loses the M150 immediately, but has an M1 PP with all of this, has some M113s with fire support for the mech rifles with the tows, with the tow cobras and so on, should be able to do a decent job here at dealing with all of this. MiG-23 coming around for a tow cobra, but there's an F-16 on the other side, and the Chaparral. Together, they're likely gonna do the job. Yes, there we go. MiG-23 does go down. Su-24s, though, coming in big numbers. Cluster Bomber coming in for the M1. The M1 is just driving away, running into the Rajvetka, and still does go down to the Su-24 cluster. And that means it doesn't even get the full-on capture. New CV has to be bought on only 15 minutes left. And we also saw the big counter push here in the south of Nocturna that got back Feodor. And there are so many armored vehicles here now at Feodor. So pushing into that zone is going to be relatively suicidal. That kind of means that one way maybe Bend Over can do it is a weird swing through the north into Dimitri and Boris, but that is going to be really, really tough to achieve as well. And that still would mean that he would need to get some amazing kills here in the next 3-4 minutes. And M110's trying to do that, trying to take out the enemy AA, get a coup at least. Likely not going to find a Tunguska there, as that is moving away. And that means that the A10 still can't just come in here. If you kill the Tunguskas in coops, then maybe, but there are still 2 coops, 2 Tunguskas, so the 8th air tap here not going to be a good offensive tool.
Yeah, it is there's an alternate reality when Bend Over would have gotten the CEVs out earlier and basically managed to start out the grind for the middle position somehow, and then also dodged the Su-24 carpet bombing that is basically the way that 79th can counter those kinds of concentrated attacks. And if that fight would have kept going, and if Bend Over could have used like a nice long range ATGM concave to push the T-80s into the right side of the middle position instead of the center of the middle position, but that would have been pretty consider like that would have been an achievement on itself. And Nocturna has been playing this like so disciplined and so just like there are no gaps, no overextensions in the strategy, and even like that massive amount of supply in the middle, just to make sure that even if a catastrophe happens, the tanks can be repaired up really quickly. I would love to see it. Even though 79th, it can be a little bit annoying because it's ruining everybody on ladder right now. I might actually have to jump in on it. But yeah, this is the way you do it. Mixing up the BMP1 fagots with the BMP2 so that you can get both cheaper and a little bit updated units there. And fagot missiles, of course, are nowhere near as powerful as Conquerors, but the BMP1s are great on their own right.
Yeah, and the T80BV IZD here, the quick hunter of the division, doing a good job here as well now, helping out with the big plop, and that big plop is now really going for the kill here towards Anna, and the American infantry here not having the greatest anti-tank weapons on themselves against plops, like they don't have any law 80s or Apilas, so you can push closer to them than you could push to a British or a French division with these pushes. Only a couple of 84s, and then the Dragon 2s, which are great at dealing on the medium ranges with some lighter armor or individual armored units, but they're not good because the rate of fire is too slow at dealing with these kind of blobs, and that blob now is going to get into the zone, is going to start to tick again, and yeah, Bendover here is never one to surrender lightly, but he is in a lot of trouble here.
Yeah, there's 3 Dragon mech rifle squads there. They're gonna have to carry the rest of this game right now. And sorry, the problem is that even the Dragon missiles, all ATGMs, and even the Dragons, they have a minimum range. So if they are caught alone without support against tanks or mechanized vehicles, the mechanized vehicles can try to rush to hug them, basically, try to get under the minimum range and just do some free damage. But that's not what Nocturna chose to do. Nocturna is not playing this like I would. Nocturna is playing this properly, just retreats away from that engagement, uses that forest as cover, and loses a few BMP1s, but that's a 40-point unit anyways. It's basically a BTR 80.
Yes, at the same time, is setting up a push towards the north. Lost one Tunguska there to the artillery fire, but there's still 3 coups actually, and Tunguska, so the AA is still fine. There's still no easy way for a couple of airplanes to just overrun this all. And the M110s, really, they are the big issue here in the game plan of Bendover. They were supposed to get trades going. They were supposed to let the grind really go hard, but they never got those kills. And with that, the whole strategy here did fall flat. But on the other side, the SU-24s did a decent job, and the T-80BV, just being really concentrated, did fantastic. Tanks do retreat here right now, and yeah, looks easy on the side of Nocturna right now, but all this movement against the M110s, that's actually really the difference between this and a lot of the Division 2 or Division 3 action that we often see, because there those M110s actually would have gotten the kills, and here now, finally, there might be some good hits, and might be a kill, but even now, Nocturna likely gonna get out all of his tanks. They are damaged now, he doesn't have that much supply on the front line, so they are combat inefficient, but he's not the one attacking right now, so that is still alright, and once more, really well microed there, not moving all of them backwards, because then the CV tank would have gone down, but actually moving them to the shortest way out of the affected area and getting all of the tanks out there. Really, really good micro here on Nocturna's part.
Yeah, and just to show that how much airtime the A10s have been getting here, like they've been flying around. The A10 AT, one of the most deadliest tank killers in the game. And the problem with it is that it basically moves at walking speed, so it can't deal with long-range air defenses such as the coups. But its purpose is to punish the enemy when the enemy goes over the top, when the enemy leaves their cover. And Nocturna is just not doing that. Nocturna is not taking any useless risks. and this is completely content in this situation. Now artillery once again hitting, getting some nice damage done here, and it's probably going to require a bunch of more Ural trucks, but no units are really in position to do a counterattack. So this is not really a crisis for Nocturna. And Bendover is buying 3 more mortars. There's a mortar already around, but I don't think it has actually fired a single shot. It's still full 90. 3 more mortars. This is going to be potentially a massive smoke wall. But what is going to push through that smoke wall? That's the question. And there's not that much for Bendover around. A lot of support equipment, a lot of, your iHawks, even decent recon around still. And very crucially, also holding the northern position of center. But just there isn't a front line that can really start challenging this like very hyper late stage 79th, no matter how the smokes go.
Yeah, and
Maybe, just maybe they can capture Fedor and sit on it, but there is not enough time. 7 minutes is not enough time, even at a +2.
And the BRDMs here doing a really, really good job of keeping the M1 Abrams that try to at least get a tick online here out of the southern zone as well. And there's no tanks left. Like, all the M1A1s have been killed off. There are only a couple of M1s around, and they can't compete with the KDBV. They have the frontal armor to deal with them, but they don't have the penetration really to keep up with the T80s. And that's a big problem. The A10 here trying to find another run, but the T80BV here just too numerous, and the AA is still up, so even if you get a single one of them, it doesn't really matter. And M1A1 here not being around anymore means that these tanks just can't take any fight they want right now. Get a kill on another M1. E10 finally comes in, Coops fire a bit late, but they still get the kill there. One CV T80BV goes down here, so the Abrams tries to push through, but the IZD is still there, the BRDM is still there, the smoke mortar is trying to come in, and one Abrams smoking off as well. But this is just all nice, fun play here now by Bendover, but it doesn't really matter. Even if he makes it all the way to Dimitri at this point, it would be too late. Only 6 minutes left, and his point deficit here is just way too high. He played it way too slow when it comes to center. I believe that was the big mistake here, that he left center unchecked, like that there was never any push onto that zone at all. And that just gave Nocturna so many free points here for so long, and really well played here by Nocturna, using those TDBVs like they are supposed to be used in a matchup like this, where you can use the IZD with the high speed and so on. And the BMP2s did get sacrificed quite often, but they often achieved the positional victories that they were sacrificed for, so well-deserved second game here currently for Nocturna, and with that we would get at a draw, which doesn't really help anybody of these players, but at least keeps their chances up quite nicely. It just means that they need to win all the other games against tough opponents, but means that both of these guys for sure still have a good shot of making it out into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think here we can see like the problem with having a high-tech division like 8th is that look at these Rangers in the Blackhawks, because these are obviously like the mobile attacking force of the division. The Rangers in the Blackhawks are 110 points each. Now, the Blackhawk can, of course, be sold back, so you can get the money that way, but it's still a big investment early on. And when you are faced with the very cheap and effective attack of the single T80 with a bunch of...
Oh, no. The Ranger leader is trying to get into the Raider, but there's a Motostrel kill right there. Oh, they just barely not run into it. They might pass it now. Oh, the Motostrike got spotted. But yeah, now the Ranger leader actually going for the fight there. It does have an RCL, it does have a sniper rifle, and the Ranger Blackhawks here, yeah, going for the memes. They not going to achieve the points. And it's I'm a bit surprised that the Ranger Blackhawk wasn't the opener. Like, when you bring these, like, that's what you want to take center with in the early game. That's the exact kind of play that you need to win on in this matchup as 8vs, I believe. Like, minute 1, 2 Rangers into center, so that you have that safe +1 take through the north, and instead he just left that open there and now brings in the Rangers and the Blackhawks. Like, that's a weird choice, and yeah, they obviously gonna get shut down here after being spotted by the MiG-23s, but it doesn't really matter. It's a nice, fun meme here, but it's not gonna save Bendover, and really a couple of weird game choices here, but also fantastic play on the other side. And the MR10s not being efficient, that's more down so to great counterplay by Nocturna than big mistakes by Bendover. The targets that he chose for them were all sound, but again, Nocturna just always smelled it and moved the units just before the shots got on target. So, job really well done in going around the enemy's win condition here.
Yeah, and as I was saying, like efficiency tends to beat in this game, like straight up quality. Like if everything you have is quality, like with the 8th US being a frontline prestige flagship division, you lack the kind of units that you could do light pushing, such as what should have happened into the center early on. You lack the versatility that you gain when you're playing something like, I don't know, 4E, the Dutch armored division, because they have a bunch of very low tech, frankly, a lot of weak infantry and cheap recon units, and those provide a great like versatility to act together with the high tech tanks, and it like eighth just doesn't have similar units.
Yeah, and the GG is called here right at the end by Bendover, and really, really well done job here by Nocturna. As was pointed out in the chat before, it's a bit weird that 79th didn't get banned here, because that is a division that you usually don't see get through. Nocturna's bans, obviously, here, knowing the opponent, are 3 US bans. And on the other side, Mnet uh, and DivMob and 20th Panzana, interesting picks here, bans here as well against Nocturna. But yeah, I feel like you just can't get 79th through at the moment. I understand the Mnet ban. I'm a bit skeptical about the DivMob ban currently still. I feel like that's a division. Yeah, it can be a good counter pick, and I guess against with 6 you might not want to play against that, but it's still a division that, like, when you get the right maps and so on, you still can deal with. Yeah, 20th Panzana, I feel like has fallen off in comparison to 79th by a good bit. So yeah, that's for example the band that I would swap out at the moment. But job well done here by both players, leaving us with a tie here and leaving them with both getting some points here for the group stage, but meaning that they will have to get a bit further here to actually make it deeper in the group stage. And with that, we move on towards Group A, as there we have Bubblegun, aka the Scoof, versus a new face for WARNO League. So not a new face to Eugen Games and not a new face to WARNO competitive play. So more so into 1v1 with Totic. Mix 90s 2v2 partner in crime. A really, really strong player. So going to be interesting to see how well they will do against Bubblegun here. And that is going to be our next match. So quick break, guys, and then we're going to be back with Totic versus Scoof, aka Bubblegun. Here we go. Series number 2 of the day. Scoof versus Tortik. And we have 2 newer maps here coming up with Thaler and Eiche coming around. Quite excited for that. And also, that's going to be a pretty hot matchup here with 11th Para, a division that we haven't seen all that much lately, against 56 Stormer Brigada here. And then we have 2nd Panzer Grenadier versus Venette coming around as the second matchup here. And we have Tortik coming up with a bit of a meme here, as this is a lot of Gazelle coming around here for the opener, together with some of the newer Hussard Para coming around here as the opener units as well. 11th Para, I believe, is a division that is back into decent spots with some latest buffs that it has received over the last couple of months and patches, with some new units, some of the older units being buffed and so on. And on the other side, 56 VDV, still a really strong division. Far from its prime though, but still quite strong. And I'm a bit confused what the Gazelle Cannons are supposed to achieve against a division that has 4 deploy infantry with stingers.
Easy. Overwhelm them. You can just, you have so many helicopters, you just spray them down before they can kill all of you, and then you basically have removed both. Theoretically, you have removed both the enemy recon and given yourself a nice power base of helicopters that you can oppress the enemy early on. Now, I'm not saying it's gonna work out, but it's something that can be done, especially if they're working together with some ground units such as the Sagais, which can be work well if the helicopter spot targets for them. Now, this Thaler map, it's a map that often ends up into a big opener fight in Dimitri, where the ranges are relatively close. Around Dimitri, basically the 4 corners of that zone, 3 of those 4 corners from our position, northeast, southeast, and southwest, are pretty good for vehicles to just hang around in and try to do fire support, but very difficult to actually move vehicles through that zone. So infantry forward deployment, as we can see with the Legionnaire Paras here, seems to be a pretty smart choice there, especially when 56th cannot forward deploy with anything heavier than the 4-man Spetsnaz Stingers. Now, they have a lot of really good infantry, but none of that is forward deployed right now. Rasvirka BMP2 upvetted is going to be a problem, especially if it's microed well, but the Sagai should be able to fight it off if it comes into a 1v1 fight. Though if it becomes a close range fight, the Sagai doesn't really have armor to deal with the 30mm cannon. I would say that I would give this match to 56th, just because 56th, whatever happens in the opener, 56th has the potential to build up fire support, and it is really good at doing that. The free veterancy 1 for the infantry, and just the numbers of BMP2s that can be put out there is a really difficult thing for divisions to work through, especially without tanks. And I just don't think the Milan cars, the ranges here are not long enough for the ATGM cars to really be able to deal with those on the long term. So it's going to be the AML 90s and ERCs that do the fighting. But then again, the T62...
Yeah, and the Gazelle Cannons already suffering hard here. There's also none of them that can deal with the BMP2, and Celtics going down, Gazelle Cannons going down. This opener is not looking great right now. Like, nearly all of them already down, only 3 remaining. The Stinger, Spetsnaz GIU still around for the most part. A couple of the AGL vehicles go down. The infantry at least got able to push behind all of this, so the sacrifice might be worth something here, but it's not going to be easy to make it worth the amount of little helicopters that you lost there. They are relatively cheap, but they are not free. And Gazelle Cannons here now all down. That means that your fire support here is really lackluster. And that kind of means that you need to get your Apilas on target against all the enemy armor to really get payoff here. That's the easy way of French making big money shots, is getting good Apilas hits. And the first one here, pretty good. ATGM of a Milan 2 coming around as well. The Para, the Hussar Para there still moving around. Legionnaire Para pushing deeper into the enemy lines. But after all, the situation now here brought to a standstill for now in the northern parts. Sagai, Recon moving around, getting shut up by a Plymia, as the +1 at least is achieved here by Tortik, but it's not going to be easy to keep that up. And with the Plymias here doing a good job, P4 PC does go down, so no capture of Theodore right now, meaning that even the +1 is going to go away in a second here, and those 30mm grenade launchers here, pretty nasty.
Yeah, the issue with the Sagai is that they can be on closer ranges, they can be shot at by the autocannons, and they don't one-shot kill BMP2s, and they are basically incapable of fighting against the T-62s. And the Sagais really need to be...
What is going? The 7.6mm MG of the French seems to have a issue with their walking animation, because they are moonwalking that MG into the building. This is it's the small things. Milan 2 here moving forward, trying to get into the building. That's a funny little mistake.
It's like a trust exercise, like a trust fall. You carry something with a friend, but running backwards. Have you ever done that?
Yeah.
Pretty difficult.
And yeah, the Legionnaire Powers here getting shoot down, so no Apilas hits so far that are really changing the outcome of anything here, and that's a big, big problem for our player in blue. The good thing about it is that the reinforcement roads here are really close, so that means your stuff at least can come in quickly and replace the losses. The issue is you still have lost all that stuff, but the enemy hasn't, so the number of games here currently is a big troublesome thing, and the issue is you don't have many crowd control tools as 11th Para. You have a lot of good individual strong hard hitters like Infantry for Apilas and Special Forces and the Sagai that can maybe get some sneak attacks on, but that doesn't help you if the enemy just plops T-62s and BMP2s. And your planes are good at killing off individual targets as well, but they're also not the greatest against plops. So all of this currently a bit of a dilemma that the Tortik is in here right now. And Scuff here looking really, really solid in this game number 1.
Yes, Scuff is using the Okrana, which are the security troops, the 10-man squads with very light weaponry, but just having those guys around and doing the spotting for the BTRs, the Metlas, and the heavier vehicles, that is more than enough. The immediate transition that Scoof is doing into having more tanks and just getting even extra supply out there so that the tanks can constantly
the Legionnaire Paras get spouted before they can get into Apila's range once more, and the second one of them here gonna get got. And yeah, I'm a bit surprised that we didn't see an Eric's version of them coming around with the Paramarines here, and two of them now coming onto the front line. We see VLRA trying to get smoke up. As yeah, the Paramarines are really good if they are in the right spots and they can get some Apilas, or they force the enemy to push up with vehicles. You have the slightly better infantry as the French in this matchup, not by a long shot, because the 56 actually has pretty decent infantry, as you pointed out earlier, but still, in total, your infantry with some SAS Special Forces and with the great revet Paramarines is still really, really powerful. But the issue is that you have to get into positions where the enemy then has to push closer with vehicles, and that's currently not the case. Smoke tries to force that now, but that's not going to be easy either. That smoke can be just moved around, and VLRA BMPs really need to find some good shots here with the smoke rounds to allow those Paramarine to get into the nice spots here, as a lot of support coming in for Tortik into the center, but they are in a lot of trouble in this game number 1.
Yeah, and the GTMU1D ZU23-2, which is the transport vehicle for the E-Class, also is just a nice, cheap, mobile AA gun with 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And as long as the Sagais get pushed down or suppressed by the T-62s, these AA guns can pretty freely just try to burst down anything that the French can send at them. The Paramarines are upvetted to the point where it's going to be pretty difficult to stun them. So maybe they will get Apila shots, but even then, just as there is a critical mass of shit that can fly at you that you cannot deal with as an infantry squad. Maybe the smoke here, if the smoke gets them close and they can fight the Afghansi if they dodge the incendiary rocket launchers. But even then, just look at the immediate scaling that's been happening on Scoop's side. Scoop is just getting the Nonas, which are amazing in this matchup, especially in these close ranges. Those self-propelled howitzer mortar thingies. There are some Strelas to deal with any strafing vehicles, and all the T-62s and BMP-2s are in nice positions. They're trying to punish the enemy for moving at long ranges. The Sagais are taken largely up-vetted, which means that there's not going to be too many of them. That's a good deal most of the times because they are decently expensive at 90 points, and you want them to win the 1v1 fights, or at least fire first in the 1v1 fights. Paramarines getting obliterated by the incendiary launchers and the support here. Sagai's pushing really close. And if the cows are going to open up at the side armor here.
Yeah, they have to disengage. Second Paramarine here now, fighting the Spetsnaz JU and Afghansi as well. That's not going well either. T-62 even in range there, so this push once more, not achieving much. And yeah, as 11th Para, you need to have an opener that actually achieves something, and this opener did not do that, and then it is really hard to come back with this division. It's not an easy to play division at all, and especially from the back foot, it's a division that, yeah, you really have to jump through all the hoops in the right order to really get something done here. ZUSU 23 will likely shoot down the Sagai here now, as it just gets too close. Yeah, 23mm autocannon just getting the better of them. Southern situation is not one where you can push. There's only an AML-90 there for the spotting. What we got now here is an interesting artillery spam that tries to just use the mass of M105mm artillery, which are really cheap guns, to just try to get something done, but their damage output also isn't the greatest, and on the other side the Nona's doing pretty well. So yeah, the capture is not quite happening in the middle here, as the 105mm are getting closer. But on the other side, next Nona coming up as well. New CVs coming in here on the red side too. And there's a massive plop of those Afghansis and normal Dejaniki Medis coming around here in the southern part. And there's just not a lot here currently for Tortic on the battlefield. The trades just have been pretty atrocious.
You know what happened, Protoss? I think what happened was that the Gaullist French moved away from Western intelligence cooperation, so nobody ever told them that the Soviets had the Stingers.
Yeah, I mean, likely nobody told anybody else outside of the Americans either that the Soviets got some of those. So yeah, issues there in the communication and the admittance that.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know, maybe Five Eyes, maybe,
yeah, but even they didn't even know that they provided the Mujahideen with the stingers. Like, that's already something that the French likely didn't know. So even less chance that they knew about the Soviets taking some of the stingers from the Mujahideen and bringing them to West Germany here. And yeah, Chasseurs Paras pushing forwards. A guy pushing in against the T-62. MD1 gets gunned down here. And yeah, the Chasseur Para trying to push in. Paramarine trying to get around the corners here as well. But T-62 MD1 here getting in. And I feel like the helicopter opener could have worked as a follow-up. Like, if you like get all these Stinger teams into a fight with your forward deployment recon and then bring the once up, once you start to kill 1 or 2 of the Stinger troops, then that can work out because the enemy often doesn't bring any AA behind the Stingers. But yeah, it maybe was the wrong order there in which he tried to do that helicopter opener.
Yeah, I think that amount, you can mass that amount of helicopters at like any point of the game, really. And it's just good to have them in your toolbox, in your back pocket, in case you get a few really good kills against anti-air units, for instance, or if you need them to fight off an enemy breakthrough. Like opening up with the helicopters and just showing your hand immediately and taking the risk that taking the risk that the enemy is gonna just take them out immediately is gonna relieve the enemy of having to build like a wide anti-helicopter net. And as you said, if the opening would have been with like bombers and a little bit extra infantry, then 1, 2, 3 minutes afterwards you can send in the helicopters to basically extend that infantry attack. And yeah, so unfortunate here, but whom amongst us haven't done really bad openers on Thaler? I certainly have.
Yeah, it's a map that is also really unforgiving with the quick reinforcement roads and stuff. So yeah, and there are a lot of chances to mess up your openers here. A lot of immediate clashes on all of these spots, and also yeah, just a really condensed front line. It is one of the most active maps when it comes to just constant fighting currently, because it is a relatively small map. It is a really condensed map around one point here for the most part as well. Like, you can push around the flanks, but that's usually the option after the center either has like died down in combat, or you realize that you're just not going to win the center, so you have to figure out something else. But the first option usually is always the center fight here, and both sides went for it, and it just didn't work out here at the beginning for Tortic. And Scoof is one of the best Warner players of all time, and they are not one to easily let an advantage like this slip away. So the Nonas here currently just hammering down everything, and 11th Para is then also the relatively easy division to dismantle, because you just have to go after some of the lighter AT weapons, and you just have to stay out of range of the infantry fights, and your fire support just will win the game for you.
Yeah, and 56th is one of the best or better divisions, if not the best divisions, in countering straight up infantry. Like the limited amount of T62s, as I was said in the opener, is basically a super weapon in this matchup, because it just means that the Sagais can't peek, they can't take great engagement, they can't actually use their speed, because anytime they meet the T62, they're gonna have to run immediately or be lost. And this means that the T62s don't have to be used in attacking, not on this map, because there are this map supports infantry attacks. So these long-range Milans, even though they can easily penetrate the damage, the armor of the T62, now we can see them push forward here, getting smoked. They don't really have to do that necessarily. They can just sit back and allow the Okrana and the rest of the infantry to just find the enemy for them. Like 11th is such a single-minded infantry division. So many of its points are spent into getting out excellent infantry, like the 80 points 10-man paramarine with an Apilas and a sniper rifle and all of that. And you can hard counter it. It's like playing against the third US. If you can hard counter tanks, you are probably winning against third US. If you can hard counter infantry, probably gonna win against the 11E. And that's why 11E is such an opener-based division, because otherwise, you zoom out here and you can see just the sheer number of support equipment in this like medium strength Soviet division is just completely overpowering to 11E.
Yeah, the artillery here trying its best to get some shots on target, but the number game is just not going the way, and there's no chance for Snowball. There's no chance for the ambushes that you kind of want to set up here. Like, infantry divisions usually want to push into one of the other side's forests so that they can slip in more and more infantry in there. And that infiltration was attempted here, but it failed by just not getting that opener constantly into the enemy rear. The two para units that made it in. If they would have gotten a couple of Aprilas shots, they maybe could have swung the game around, but they just got annihilated by the AGLs. And that is currently the reason why this game here now is stalling out, and there's just no way to push here into all the BMP2s. Like, it's one of the best divisions at just holding the front line, 56, by just bringing endless BMP2s, T62s with the HGM, fantastic on the defense as well. So Sagai is just not the unit to push into that, and we don't have the artillery. Airplay on this map is risky because the front line is so narrow that AA immediately can cover the whole front, and that all leads to a really slow +1 here right now, but +1 that is under no real danger right now of being turned around.
Yeah, and I gotta say, as much as I love the 105 artillery like build up here, they really are not doing that great damage. Sometimes they are getting corrected shots, but with the very low range of 10,000 meters, the 10K, the accuracy of the 105s is not the best, and also just the damage is nothing compared to how well the Nonas are doing. Like, the Nonas get on target and they remove their destroy weapons themes, and the 105s are largely like dodge. They do suppression damage at best.
Yeah, Chasseur Para here trying to get over the open field, but Kratz now even coming around with close range fire, getting good extra damage out there. Sagai going down, and yeah, Sagai wants to be north of Gregory. It wants to be south of Boris. Wants to be in the forests between Boris and Dimitri or something like that. It doesn't want to frontally force Dimitri, and that's just the issue right now. The game is supposed to be weird and fast and all about the flanking shots and the catching the enemy off guard and in transport at the best case scenario is 11th, and Zotic failed to get the game to that point with that helicopter opener, and it's surprising that the game is still not over yet in my eyes, because like, yeah, Scoof at this point might even have enough to just push all the way down into center and just crush the enemy defensive line here completely.
Yeah, and speaking of hard countering infantry divisions, close range grads. Like, that's you have two paramarine next to each other. That's 180 points. Get a single salvo out, and it's done. And that's not even that's even before they get into the fighting range, which is quite brutal if you look at it.
Yeah, and all the paramarines here getting gunned down. The smokes trying their best here to help out as the Nonna get on top of them as well. But yeah, this KD is going to be brutal. CV is getting back in there, but the kills are just not there. There have been only a couple of red units die lately, but blue units, they don't go down in a massive rate here, but they do keep on going down. And yeah, more Urals coming in here. Me 6 bringing in the supply in the rear here for the Grad. Big supply helicopter, the Nonna doing a good job keeping the enemy busy here as well. We see a lot of recon units coming around. ZSU 23s here actually now coming in as makeshift anti-infantry fire support units, basically. The anti-helicopter could be relevant as well, but not as key anymore with all the helicopters that went down already. The push towards Anna could be possible for Scoof as well, but they just want to keep it classic. They just want to keep it in the center here. They know they are ahead. They know they don't have any pressure on them, really, and they keep playing it from that position. Nonas now aiming up again, trying to get the Sagais, and the Sagais aren't immediately moving, and that's a big mistake, because that means they got to get it stunned down, and with that, maybe taken out. Ooh, they might just get far enough away there, because they are so fast. Sagai actually does survive there with 1 hit point.
Yeah, it's an French airborne operation so catastrophic. It's gonna produce like 15 presidential assassination attempts.
Yeah, and it's also gonna stop. Maybe it's just gonna stop all airborne operations, similar to how Crete stopped all the German ones in World War II.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's what you get when you send a colonial policing division into Europe. really.
Nanas here trying to achieve more hits up against the VLRA in the north. Yeah, a real DMB and Fu moment here for 11 Para.
Yeah, Mitterrand is gonna have to face down this.
RPG 22s coming around all around. Setio 23 here, failing to hit anything, and yeah, just the superior fire support here now going to get this all down. VLRA trying to get all the smoke around again, but it's just not enough firepower here for 11. They're just too light of a division to really achieve any good hits here, and they are duking it out. CV's trying to sneak around, but you can't just sneak around the CV in the middle. That doesn't give you the tick. You need to do it at the same time somewhere else, and that's just not in the budget right now. The force is just not numerous enough to try to attempt the smoke play in the center and the northern zone or so, and they had the front line here just way too solid. It's really interesting that Tortik is duking it out here, and that always is a choice. Like, you can just surrender, go to the next game, but it also might be better to just like play on, already start thinking about the second game, like just putting a pick behind this one as, yeah, this I'm likely not gonna win, but let's exhaust the enemy here. Let's see, maybe I can figure out a bit more about how they play by analyzing their maneuvering here and find something that I can exploit in the next game and stuff like that. Like, that's always an interesting difference between players' behaviors and attitudes as well that we see in tournament play, and it really comes down to how they like to play the game and where their strengths and weaknesses lie and where their opponent's strengths and weaknesses lie. Like, that's something that I always enjoyed in StarCraft as well, and it's a thing in Warno here too, that we have players that surrender quite quickly when they realize they're on the back foot and their chances of winning are near zero. Some of them even surrendering a bit too quickly sometimes, but yeah, here it's an interesting choice here of sticking with the game here and playing it through the long run, and maybe, yeah, just analyzing Scoof a bit more here.
Yeah, Scoof is, I would say, arguably the most dangerous player in that group. So, you know, if you're mentally, if you're given up on the game mentally, as you kind of should have, maybe, just going through the motions and figuring out, and maybe trying to get like a single good engagement to destroy, maybe get the enemy removed from a single forest, and then you get in the next game mentally, basically on a high note, showing that you can draw a little bit of blood from the enemy, even in these horrible conditions.
Yeah, 105mm artillery pieces here, moving around again, but the non-outs on the other side, you have pointed it out a couple of times right now. They are just brutal here. The Para Commandos gonna get down. We finally see the Eric soon. It's one of the big strong points of 11th. Ever since that got added, this division is a lot scarier with the super high penetration, 26 penetration, the highest of any ground-based fired weapon, and a decent range for an AT weapon on infantry as well, 1050 meters. So really, really good weapon here.
Yeah, now Legionnaire Paras getting on the enemy side. Problem is that the RPGs, the Resontikis also have the shock trait. They also have pretty decent weapons, so they can fight off the Legionnaire Paras, at least with the numbers.
Yeah, the 62s here getting a shot against the P4, the P4 Milan going down. The situation here not looking all that rosy for Tortik, but yeah, we have been going on about that. We have another big infantry blob here moving towards the center. 14 minutes to go. The C62s now going in for the kill. AML-90 is going down. The Nonas pushing closer. And the WBL Milan getting forward here, trying to get some kills as well. 20mm around the side. Have the big new infantry wave here coming in the rear.
Yeah, finally Scoof is basically trying to finish this game off a little bit earlier, and there are currently 0 infantry units between the Soviets and 2-point back point of center, and these units have now been ordered, and considering how small the reinforcement roads are, They could actually reach there before Scoof actually pushes in. But yeah, with Scoof, Nonas especially are just going to make it so that any French 10-man infantry squad that could generally fight off the enemies pretty decently is gonna have to do that suppressed and under like repeated fire of the mortars. And we can see with the KDR here that this is potentially mass infantry assaults are kind of obsolete, at least by the 1980s standards. And as we know, no military has ever gone back to them.
Yeah, and the Power Marines here just not getting the infiltration tactics they wanted. And yeah, this game was over 5 minutes in, but I think you're really wanting to duke it out, wanting to test the battlefield, wanting to test the water a bit more. That's why we got to this KD. Like, this is not representative of the skill of these players. It is a failed offensive that can happen, and that you just have to get mentally ticked and then move on to the next match. And that's what we're going to do here now as well. Scoop versus Totic, game number 2, coming up in a minute. And I'm hopefully going to see a better opener there from Totic and then a more interesting game than this game number 1 here.
Yeah, 5 minutes is generous.
So here we go, game number 2 between Tortic and Scoof, and we are on another relatively new map. The first time that we have this in the league pool, and it hasn't been in the rank pool for all that long either, and that is Eiche. And Eiche is coming around here with an interesting matchup for us as well, as we have Tortic on the left side coming around on Brunette, and on the right side, Scoof on a Classic, on the second Panzer Grenadier. But with the latest buffs that Brunette has gotten, it has become a really scary and competitive division as well, so this should be a pretty hot one. And if you want to support the players here, guys, you can do so via the Matcherino page, and you don't even have to pay anything. All you have to do to add to the prize pool is go to the site and click the claim code button to add 25 cents. Though, obviously, if you're interested in contributing directly, you can do so as well. Big thanks to 36, 24th US, and Praying Wolf here for big contributions already. And one nice thing here, one community member that wants to stay anonymous is going to mirror all prize pool up to $1,000 with a contribution to the amazing Action Against Hunger Geo, so that's the nice thing here as well. So every click here also goes basically in a way over to charity as well. So especially with the free click, guys, just press that time code button, and the faster we get those, the faster we get more codes, so that we can get more free money into the prize pool as well. And here on the right side, Scoof coming around with a classic second Panzer Grenadier, bringing out some Leo 2A3s, bringing around some Leopard 1A1s here, and a lot of Makers. We usually don't see that much of a forward deployment opener, but against the Spanish, it makes sense. They don't have any forward deploy infantry outside of their snipers, and they only have a couple of helicopters, none of them with guns, so they can't just push away the Makers.
Yeah, and I also like on this map here, there are 2-point zones, not just the middle point of Delta, but also if you can threaten or even contest the back point of Gulf, that can be like a massive issue. Just if you look at the Gulf point, you can just walk in there in relative cover via those buildings, and that could easily like put the enemy into like an immediate downtick and completely mess up their plans and their unit compositions. I'm a little bit worried about Tortic's Kinetes, which is the 8-man recon squad, kind of the closest thing that they have to a forward deployment unit. It is being brought at 0 veterancy, so it's not going to be that capable in actually facing down the Fallschirmjägers. But what Tortic is doing here is a vehicle mechanized recon rush. AMX 30 recons, these are the Spanish ones, so they don't have the 20mm cannons. Instead, they have a coaxial 50 cal, which is still very powerful. We have a bunch of VEC 25s with those 4 penetration modern Bushmaster autocannons, which are great. And following it up, instead of like a mass of infantry, there's a bunch of support equipment. There are 2 Guyboy carriers, which are the AA guns, the 20mm machine guns, really. There's a bunch of LAGs, the 40mm grenade launchers, carried by 40mm transports as well. So a lot of firepower is coming in here, just not really a front line outside of these recon vehicles.
Yeah, the MX-30s here coming around. The BO-105 helicopters will get shut down relatively quickly by those gun or AA weapons, but on the other side, we have a lot of support equipment as well. iHawks, Milan 2s, and with the forward deployment cost of the Fallschirmjägers, you don't have that much behind it either. You have one big Leo 2A3 and a Leo 1A1. They will outperform the AMX-30s if they get to spot them. Oh, especially if one of them just explodes to a Milan 2. Big first blood on the tank combat there for Scoof with that Milan 2 kill. Loses one of the Milan 2s to the snipers in the south. So his situation around Echo, not great, but for Tortic, the situation here is going pretty well. Harrier HE though, that unit is a beast, and it gets a double kill here. At least it costs 185 points here, but double kill against 2 mechanized vehicles here. A really nice one nonetheless. The Ginite get into the Fallschirmjäger and get a good fight there against the Aufklärers, but yeah, the issue is here, the Leo 2A3 now outperforms all the enemy vehicles on the ground, and that means that your infantry needs to get into AT rocket range, and they don't get that. The recon forward deployment just get shut down, and the luck can't deal with the Leo 2A3, so the Leo 2A3 here currently the massive problem for our player in blue.
Yes, Kuf basically did the most standard by-the-book second Panzer Grenadier opener with limited forward deployment and followed up by pretty decent mech, 1 fire support tank, the Leopard 1, and 1 proper MBT with the Leopard 2, as well as with a Gepard and single iHawk. You know, very much nothing. I think this is a very nice matchup here to showcase the Spanish in how they perform and what they need to do to beat arguably one of the most powerful ranked 1v1 divisions, 2nd Panzergrenadier, like 79th, 2nd Panzergren, they're very good. And I always recommend 2nd Panzergrenadier to new players because it is so versatile and it can do basically anything as long as it gets its relatively cheap combined arms out. And you can basically do anything with it. But Tortik is going to invest into a tank attack around Delta, trying to get the most upgraded sub-Lear tanks, which do have some like decent stats, but also they can still be one-shot by a single. Wait, no, they can't be one-shot by a Milan too because they have 11 health. They have the ERA.
That's a really, really big difference here. Against TOTUs, they would still get one-shotted, but against Milan 2s, they do survive the first hit. And compared to the French AMX-30s, the EM2 has a better stabilizer and a better fire control system, so it has higher accuracy. Is at 70% accuracy here with the 1-vet, 65% base accuracy, which is really phenomenal. So they are pretty good at fighting other tanks. The double 50 cal also means, with one of them being coaxial, that they have still really good firepower against enemy infantry. So those are really good class cannons. And we have a VEC 25 here in the enemy rear in the north, so any push towards Alpha, not going to be easy here for Scoof either. Comes around with some Zwilling AA pieces that might get gunned down here, the 20mm Zwillinger on the way. But we have Tortik trying to get around the flank in the south as well, as the +1 here going to be a nice tick, but not a winner here really at this point for our player in blue just yet. This map has a lot of tick potential.
Yeah, is the Fusileros. Fusileros takes out an enemy full-on 9-man infantry squads. Those are pretty nice there for the Fusileros M65. Also, all the fire support is trying to deal with this or targeting this single infantry unit here, but behind them the 3 AMX-30s are trying to challenge this, but they are not good at, they cannot deal with the Leopard in that range. They need to get closer. But meanwhile, I love to see Tortik's mortar play. Like, the mortar has been in play since the start. This mortar has 125 rounds, so it's not going to run out of smokes soon, and mortars can just keep up fire really quickly. They have like a 9-second aim time before they launch, and especially early on when you have these sorts of key units, whether they be single tanks or ATGMs, having that what I like to call the commando mortar as kind of like a constant support for your units trying to advance, it can deliver huge results. Now with a bunch of wounded tanks here getting really close and risking facing the Leopard 2 again, the Fusileros are in range, but they don't have vision.
Fusileros get a great sight shot. It's routed. Oh, this is a kill. This should be a kill here. AMX is now pushing on. There's nothing here that can assist the Leo 2A3 in its peril, and it goes down. Massive side shot there by the stressed out Fusileros on 1 veterancy. Really, really good kill, and that is going to swing Delta around by a lot. Great micro there on the tanks, slowly stepping forward there, and the lack of support there, and the overstepping of the infantry into the MX-30's machine gun fire, where they just get annihilated, did cost Scoof that tank. Scoof, by the way, cleared out the rear with the Harrier Bomber. The Harrier Bomber, a really good investment here. Yes, it got nerfed a bit lately, 185 points, but against a division without manpads, and that is a big issue with the Spanish. They don't get any manpads. You can bring around the Harrier, especially against a division that has a really expensive fighter with the F-18 on the other side that you have to invest a lot into to come out and shoot down a Harrier. So Harrier here has been pretty efficient so far. Likely going to get another bombing run out at some point, killing off an MX-30 or so. And once up Lear finally goes down here in the middle, at the same time, Leo 1A1 coming forward here. But there we have another swinging unit. Both sides have access to the MR10 in this matchup. And on this map, with a couple of really important choke points, those MR10s can break those and gets an Eyehawk with the first salvo. So really, really important kill there.
Yeah, I just want to point out that Leopard 2 was putting front armor against the Fusileros, but at the last millisecond, they spotted the AMX 30s and just moved slightly to the right, giving the side shot potential there. So yeah, just tanks just overextended. Should have been a little bit further back, and that wouldn't have necessarily happened. Now with the Panzergrenadiers are once again trying to get up here, and the AMX 30s were not in position to destroy them when they were moving closer. And now it's pretty risky for them to even try to peek because of the Panzerfaust can do a lot of damage against the low armored older generation tanks. But the Spanish infantry on their own, it doesn't have the greatest infantry weapons, only the 7.62s with single machine guns.
We have a flanking Sablier here. We have a really interesting flanking Sablier, but it is getting too close to a Milan 2. Is opening up fire against it now, but the Harrier is coming around for the kill, and it will find the kill. The Toledo Aspide not out of its transport here right now. The second one is. First one is still in its transport, so the Harrier will get out here. Does get hit on the way out, but does survive that one, as it only deals 6 damage per hit. Or 7 damage per hit? Yeah, 7 damage per hit, which is just 1 damage too little. Actually find a kill against the Harrier. And with that, the whole balance on that plateau is swinging around again. MX-30s here on the back foot against the Leo 1A1s right now, as they find the close range engagements that they are so good at. And with one Sablier just being kind of wasted on that flanking move, the situation here is really, really troublesome for Tortik. But replacement Sablier coming in, gets for a good shot here. Does not get hit by the Leo 1A1 on the long ranges, and long range fights, it should dominate against the Leo 1A1, as it has the better accuracy, it has the better penetration and frontal armor as well. So that would be a good engagement range. But the infantry situation here, relatively dire right now. And at the same time, both sides haven't sent a CV towards Echo, which is really interesting, as that would allow either side here to either stop the tick or get a really solid tick online, but they just couldn't afford it because they knew they had to fight and contest the plateau and throw any point they got in income into that fight.
Yeah, Tortik is doing a strategic retreat here, obviously against superior odds. The goal here for Tortik is just keep this corner so that the plateau can be reinforced. Losing a recon tank there, Sablier getting a big hit here. The Zapadoras are a 9-man squad with only satchels and machine guns, submachine guns. The submachine guns are not some of the better ones, but it's still only a 40-point unit. And for a 9-man, that can be pretty value. Also, like as I said, the West German infantry weapons are not the best, so they are can be pretty decent if well supported. Problem is that they are not well supported. 2 more Sabliers are moving in here. There's only a single salvo of ammunition left for the M110.
Interesting flanking coming from the north. The VEC and 1 AMX-30 EM2 coming in there from the north. The EM2s, that are the ones without the reactive armor, so they do go down one shot against an enemy Milan 2. Luckily for them, they only get hit by a Milan 1 here from a Marder 1A3 as they push in closer to try to retaliate onto it. VC's coming up as well, getting into range for their great Bushmaster autocannons, but the MX-30 does go down to a Marder. That's not a trait that you want to take there. So the flanking attempt here from Tortik gets smashed into pieces as well, and that means that the plateau likely is going to fall, and they are running out of the Sabliers, and those are the ones that can take the Milan 2 shot from the front. One of them did just that, surviving with 1 hit point here, and we only see the MX-30 EM2s now coming up because the Sabliers, you only get 2 cards off, eventually will run out of them, and then you have to bring up the MX-30s that die 1 shot to the Milan 2, so that is going to be a big problem here. But in the north, Panzergrenadiers trying to get onto the alpha point now that the VEC 25s have left, but Milan 2 at least gets the Lux kill. Luck 40 could push forward, helping out there, as the Panzergrenadiers still caught outside of any buildings, and the MR10 will try to find some more value here as well. Leo 1A1 is its next target, and so far, the MR10 did find some decent and some not so great hits. Let's see if it can find another kill here. Oh no! Just before the shots go out, the Leo 1A1 moves away, so another salvo into the nothingness.
The Zapadores have managed to actually keep up by hugging the building here. They've been satcheling these Panzer Grenadiers that are moving up.
VC's finding side shots against the Leo 1A1 here, getting the kill, but it gets the CV just before. Leo 1A1's here pushing forward, getting a MX-30 EM2, but the MX-30s will win the trades here. Leo 2A3 coming up though, and that is going to be a problem. Leo 2A3's outclassing the MX-30s here once more. Marder gets a kill with the Milan 1. Only 2 tanks around here. We have Fusileros, we have the Smoke Mortar, but the Smoke Mortar currently not assisting the infantry and pushing closer. Only now starting to aim, and that means that those smoke rounds still need a couple of seconds till they arrive here, like 20 seconds or so, till they actually land where they need to be. We have an HE bomber coming in now. With the iHawk going down early on, that likely is going to get out of here, but it doesn't get the good hit either. So currently both the MR10s and the bombs here for Tortic not quite getting where they need to be. The infantry with the smoke wall now moving in, but Scoof has prepared for the setup, has brought some pioneers of their own. So this situation here, still a good +2 here now for Scoof, catching up to the 600 point leads, but also getting a foothold into Alpha and getting a looks around the flank. Tortic has to be really careful that this game is not running away from them.
Yeah, the Marauders, especially on defense, when those sub-leers have been pushed away by the better tanks, the Marauders are amazing against the infantry here. There are no like infantry carried ATGMs. You only have Milan 2s, which are a little bit too valuable. Just hang around and move alongside with infantry. The C90 AT weapons are good, but they are only 700 meter range. And Tortic managed, the Zapadora squad managed to hold that bridgehead for those reinforcements to come in. But the reinforcements now, they need supply, and they are not really in a fighting position. These are the full strength pioneers are getting into touching distance, basically, where they're going to use their satchels and just decimate the Spanish infantry. The BO-105 helicopters have been getting a bad rap here. They've been sniped by the Toledo, Aspide Toledo, and the Guy Boys, but the core of the core mechanized force of Scoof, there really is not an answer to it. Like the VEC-25s are nice doing their side shots here, but just the Marauders have great survivability. They have 5 front armor, they have the Milans, and they don't really need to push. The Pioneers, especially the zero-vet Pioneers, have been stunned. The Spanish infantry is still holding its own, but there are even Gepard supplies. There is so much stuff here to protect them. 2 more Fusilero squad coming in with some more mortar support as well. The sub-leers are doing fire support on long ranges, but this so far kind of seems to be, the trades seem to be going in Scoop's favor. Now a Tornado cluster and the Harrier HE2 coming in. The Aspide has not been reloaded. It is getting reloaded right now, but it can't stop the bombs from coming.
Ooh, MX-30 just barely getting to the edge of that bomb drop, so it does survive. HE Harrier not finding its drop pattern either, so going for the Zapadores now, but getting really close to that Toledo now. That is now reloaded, will get a second shot out there, so that Harrier is likely toast. Yep, with the AA guns coming around as well. Finally, a bit of a victory there. Looks at the same time, though, finding BMR luck with a luck inside, just barely not killing it. Ooh, this is so important here that the MX-30 survived and that this luck makes it through. Might allow Tortic to hold on a bit longer towards the Northern Alpha point. And with reinforcements here in the middle, coming around in decent numbers, the Fusileros and Zapadores pushed back. Leo 2A3 still around, Leo 1A5 here still around, so the plateau is still in the hands of our red player. But I feel like Tortic, yeah, and they finally start moving there, should have a decent number of forces here for doing some damage in the south. And they try to get some more information here. MR10 is aiming towards the enemy Mancut supply. That is a good way of keeping the enemy attrition rate up as well by dealing with the enemy supply trucks, so that they can't resupply the front line here. The Mancut 6x6 Not a cheap one. Couple of units there. The Zwillinge getting hit by the splash damage a bit as well. So a good salvo there. MR10 finally finding something of value. But the Leo 1A1 in the north. Ooh, barely not getting hit by the Milan 2. As the Zapador is now in trouble. As the MX-30 that was really damaged there got finished off by the Leo.
Yeah, the Schwillings are just great, again, kind of cheap infantry fire support here, and very, very good for Tortik to be able to take them out so early. This is with some reinforcers coming in from the southwest, actually, of the middle position, 2 more AMX-30s. These are EM2 variants, upvetted, as well as a few more Fusilero squads. The TOA transports is standard M113 with 50 cal, which means it is good. It is not as fast as many transports, but the 50 cal more than like compensates for this. It's being just a very good long range, reliable damage dealer. But the problem stands that in the close range fights, M65 and C90 AT weapons are pretty good, especially the C90s that are fired so fast. They can stun the heavier tanks and stun any tanks, really. But the issue is that as long as Goof doesn't mismicro the vehicles, the AMX-30s are not going to be able to mass themselves up in numbers strong enough to challenge both the Leopards as well as every ATGM that can penetrate their very weak armor. And right now, we can see that little counterattack thingy happening here, and it's doing good damage. Both Milan 1 and 2 opening fire, but the excellent smoke play here, cutting off this range, and artillery striking at that concentrated force where the pioneers are still hanging around, destroying one of the squads and stunning down the Schwilling. The Fusileros might be able to start just kind of gaining ground there. But yeah, and there is a Mando. There's a command tank coming in and cutting off the 4-point tick, turning it into a 2-point tick after some time. But yeah, Tortik still needs some big plays. Skoof is leading this game now and has more than enough points to win this. The high-tech stuff of the Spanish is very defensive, especially with the BMR tow vehicles, the tow 2 launchers, and having some pretty decent aircraft as well. But you don't want to risk those expensive aircraft against Eyehawks and Gepards, which can take them out if you get any bad luck. So really just Tortik just needs to attack against the arguably more powerful defensive division on close ranges and successfully keep up trading. Another C-12 Phantom bomber coming in with its 6 relatively light bombs. Oh, that's good damage. Not massive damage, but at least there is no supply out there.
But the Eyehawk gets it on the way out. It was just barely staying alive after the damage from the first hit plus the Gepards, but it got what might be an option here for Tortik right now is a push towards Foxtrot, because they have been grinding through the enemy at Echo, and if they get into Foxtrot, then they can also obviously cut off the reinforcements into the center, maybe find the enemy M110 even there. So that could be a way here. Both sides now having an M110 out, but the one of Skoof hasn't found that much value yet. The Pistoleros here now pushing up the hill. Toa in front gets got here by the Leo 2A3. Pistoleros can't really deal with the Leo 2A3. They only have the M65 with 15 penetration on frontal hits. That's not a lot. It's a slow firing one as well, so they deal a bit of damage here, but they likely not gonna get a kill there. So in total, the kills on red units here lately, pretty good, especially by grinding out all the units around Echo with good artillery fire support, by dealing with all the enemy AT, then killing off the fire support units with your own fire support and light APCs. So the MX-30s here now have a bit of space for maneuvering again. The issue is still, like, yeah, how do you go for the +2 points? Do you go for Foxtrot? Do you go for Delta after all? Good AT weapon here coming up with the Trinitaire. Finds a shot against the Leo 1A5. Doesn't find a hit just yet. As you pointed out, they are at 0 vet, so Their accuracy is not the greatest, and they only have one shot left, and they want to get it on the Leo 2A3, but the Leo 2A3 is getting the heck out of there and stays alive for now. So MX-30 EM2 Mando comes into the point, but there is a CV on the other side that can just roll in. Situation here still pretty stable for Scoof, and that's a big problem for Tortic. 16 minutes though still to go, and they have 2 MR10s.
Yeah, though the two M110s especially. I mean, Scoof also has them, but the two M110s can start targeting that area with all of that. The Eyehawk, the Sultans, the Leopard 2s, all of them. They can be.
The MX-30s getting super short ranged by the Scoof M110 here, and they are not moving, and that means most likely both of them going down. They only now started moving, both of them going down to a single M110 salvo. Oh, that is a big swing here. That was what might have been able to open up Foxtrot or get a nice swing around the rear into the Delta point, and now those two MX-30s being gone, that makes the whole situation a bit harder, and you get a lot of MX-30 EM2s in the division. You don't get endless numbers of them. So even that might play a role here when we go into a long game, which we are currently doing. So the MR10s on the other side, retaliating, getting a martyr kill, getting some good hits here against the Leo 185. Might find a kill there as well. So in the end, that might have been revenged. Oh no! It survives a 1 hit point. Disaster here for Tortic, as that is easy to repair at that point. MR10 also aiming for the next Mando here. Both sides here using the artillery really well at this point. And that Mando has to immediately get moving. Yeah, good reaction there from Tortic. It's a fast tank. He should be able to get the hell out of the dodge now, as both MR10s here trying to get the kill on it.
Yeah, those Scoof's front line is kept up by 0 vet infantry, Panzergrenadiers, M113, and Pioneers, all at 0 vet. The standard 6-man Panzergrenadiers are too small squads to really contest with the very large Spanish infantry units, so the Spanish kind of win those by default in close ranges. And the DPS potential of infantry gets destroyed, and all units gets destroyed when they're put into low cohesion, not just because of repeated stuns, but also rate of fire hurts. So Tortic can kind of reliably keep up these infantry pushes with these relatively cheap and numerous units. But the problem is, as it has been all this stuff. Oh, that's a really nice side shot with the C90 actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem is just that they're just the weapon to deal with the Leopard 2 is the BMR tow, and there are no BMR tow angles here. The C15-18 coming in here with the Maverick missiles. These are the high-tech Maverick missiles. Ooh. They will one-shot a Leopard 2, A3 if they hit, but this time they did.
Good hit there by the Eyehawk. Leo 2A3 here now, a bit lonely with the double kill by artillery and the C90 on the Leo 185s, but there are no real tanks to exploit the situation here for Tortic either. The C90s are a bit out of range here right now, and the Sterling is still doing a good job holding the line. 400 point advantage here still for our player in red, so the MR10s need to keep up the damage, whilst the MR10 of Scoof obviously try to do the same here, so this is not an easy game of catch-up right now to do for Tortic. The MR10 on the Mando here, that is looking really dangerous, is about to fire again, and Tortic not immediately moving, and with both shots Slayer landing around, the unit now being stunned down, it's going to go down, and with that the tick is going to continue here for our player in red. Second Panzer Grenadier keeps it up. Ooh, Fusileros though might find some side shots here now. Find a Martyr again. The Leo 2A3 desperately trying to disengage. We have another AMX-30 moving forward. And the artillery on both sides here really crucial at this point. Aspide Toledo runs into a striker, so we'll go down there. A bit of a weird push here, but Tortic realizing that the grind momentum here, cost efficiency wise, might go their way. They can't stay static with the enemy having MR10s now as well. So they have to push the enemy and also maybe keep the enemy static with keeping up the pressure so that their artillery, like right now, might be able to find the Leo 2A3. And then you can just capture the point in the middle, get the +2 back. And the +2 swing right now in favor of Tortic. That would still be a really good thing with 12 minutes remaining, 80 points per minute. That would be enough. Martyr goes down in the south. I don't believe there's going to be an easy way into Echo here for Scoof, but the same goes for Alpha the other way around. So Delta is the way that this game is going to swing one way or the other. And the Leo 283 here, trying to dodge around, MR10 getting some fire towards it, but not quite directly on it. It's stunned down, but it's not killed off. The Sublier getting close enough though, but it can't quite find the kill there. Capture is going on, but the CV, no, the Mando goes down just before it captures the point. No +2 and another CV down, and the question is how many CVs are there even left for Tortic, as they have lost a good couple of them throughout the game already.
Yeah, I mean, Milan 2 grabbed a Scoof leader that was in the forest as Foxtrot, so if they get into Foxtrot, that would be an immediate +2 for Tortic as well, but there really are no mobile units down southwest. There are a lot of good support units, the Guy Boys and the Milan 2s, but no real maneuverability. More AA guns are being sent around the middle by Tortic, and I think that's kind of maybe speaks of lacking infantry. Also, two units of Jinetes moving into VC-25s, so, and as well as a bunch of Guy Boys, M60s. The infantry is getting mixed up with even more support units here, but it does seem like Tortique has, by the skin of their teeth, just managed to push the enemy almost out of the plateau, almost out of the zone, and with this, the howitzers have run out of ammunition. The howitzers need to be rearmed as soon as possible. Fortunately, a Pegaso truck is going there with 1,000 supply, and because there is so much potential in just punishing Scoof right now. The problem with Tortic is that still, a 500 points down with the +2, the Mando will cut this off, and then will be the 10-minute sprint, the final attempt on keeping one of the best Warno players of all time, playing, in my opinion, a superior division with full-on 2 M110s, basically spitting distance at the point, with a bunch of Leopards out here. Leopards 2s are being brought at 0 vet, which means that there is a numerical advantage of them, and they are operating next to their leader. If 18 Hornet nearly gets taken out, Phantom manages to do some damage there, but another cluster plane's going in, diving in at the Sublier.
Doesn't really get a great hit. One Sublier already died anyways, and the second one only gets strafed there. The Mando gets in here, and the Tornado does go down, so it won't come around for the CV tank here once more. A lot of fire support units here. The Gaibo 1 and the Lux coming around, but there are 2 Leo 2A3s here, so you might need to get some hits with the AT planes. You will need some hits with the artillery. Artillery on a decent way, gets the Eyehawk, so the AT plane might be able to get some more damage done here. You pointed it out, the Maverick one-shots the Leo 2A3, so the F-18 with the Maverick missiles here, likely going to be a clutch unit to deal with this. The Sultan needs to be dealt with the artillery. Only 8 minutes remaining here, and it does get closer. You need a 6-7 minute tick here as Tortic, and they are only 1 minute 30 away from that basically, so they need to deal with the Sultan quickly if they want to win here. But even if they don't win here, they might still potentially run into a draw if they take a bit longer, which still will give them a point. It means that they still lose the series, but they will not lose it in a straight 4-0, but rather in a 1-3 kind of way, which might still increases their chances of being in the playoffs.
They're getting sideshot into the Leopard 2. Oh no, they missed. Oh, they missed. That was so close.
Artillery coming around. Fox Milan going down. We have the MR10s coming in, trying to get some hits here. Uniter getting a good hit. MX-30 coming up as well, getting another good hit. So the Leo 2A3 stunned down. MX-30s will finish the job here. The push is going strong. Sultan
Oh, is this
likely going to go down as well. Another Leo 2A3 here needs to be overwhelmed. That just came up. Does miss its first shot, but so does the MX-30 on the other side. Leo 2A3, by the way, coming at 0 vet as well, so really interesting choices here with that on the side of Scoof here. Yes, the division has been nerfed a bit in its slots in the last patch, but it is a bit weird how many units come at low vet here. A couple of the modders are at 1 vet, but a lot of them were at 0 vet here as well. And Leo 2A3 here running into the MX-30s, and the MX-30s with the 2 vet here, with the way better threat of fire, better dealing with stress. But the Sultan still alive there in the corner, still keeping the takeaway, and you need to get that kill off. The infantry is pushing it. MR10 could fire on it as well. Yes, one of them is doing it. No, none of them is doing it. So something needs to deal with the Sultan. Cluster Bomber does miss, does get killed off. Area HE coming around for the infantry. Leo 2A3 goes down to the C90s. C90s with a great kill against the Leo 2 that came around there. The other one still stressed out in the rear. MR13 here getting overwhelmed. The Sultan Nug is still in that little pocket, just out of line of sight here at the edge of the zone as the BMRs pushing forward. The Lux coming forward as well. The MX-30s all pushing in. VEC now pushes forward as well, as we saw the kill against the Martyr. Striker trying to get a kill against the VEC, but it is breaking line of sight, so it won't get killed off here. As the Luck and the Guy Boy pushing forward. Fuchs Milan here is still in range. MX-30 Mando needs to be careful. 5 minutes 34. You need to get the point here now, as Tortic, if you want to get a draw. If you want to get the victory, you need to go for Foxtrot as well, which might be possible. There are so few units left here, but there's only one... No, there's a second CV. There's a second Mando. Ooh, Tortic could even get the win here still, if they move quick, but they need to move real quick now. The Sultan is going low here. And the Luck...
The Sultan is out!
Yeah, the Sultan is out, and the Sultan likely is going to go down here as well, as the Luck still able to fire on it. Leo 2A3 too slow, and it goes down. Yeah, no CV here right now on the battlefield for Scoof. That means with the +2, that likely is going to get Tortic pretty close, but if they want to get a win, they need to go for Foxtrot here immediately. The units in front of that are pretty limited, and the Leo 2A3 doesn't get hit here by the AT, gets stressed, but it does survive for now. Ooh, another Jäger Aufklärer going down on transport. AMX-30s rotating around. Leo 2A3 here on the hunt, but infantry trying to chase it down here. AMX-30s trying to find good hits. No push to the victory towards Fox right now, so the +2 likely is where it's going to stay at with the 4 minutes remaining. Charlie only a +1 zone, so that wouldn't really change too much here. Would still keep it in draw territory. But the MX-30 Mando now starts rotating south. Okay, it would get it to a +6 situation here if it gets there quickly. The Genitaire pushing forward. There is a BO-105 that could get shut down by the C-15s easily though. Milan 2 coming around as well. Yeah, C-15s here coming around. The other Mando could even push for Charlie. Oh, that could be a +8 situation, and that would swing points around really quickly. +2 here currently still quite slow, and the push might still come a bit too late. The other Mando not moving here. But yeah, the situation here falling apart completely for Scoof, as we see Kotick going for broke here, going for all of it. Fuchs Milan and Milan 2 there, really dangerous, but they don't have a lot of line of sight. If the Mando is quick with the smoke, it could just run them over by getting below their minimum range. Or if it just keeps driving on and keeps driving closer, it does just that. And yeah, smoke mortar there helping out as well. MX-30 does make it into the zone. There is a Leo 2A3 leader though that will keep it at a +4, and a +4 likely not enough. The other Mando not moving here for Tortic, so that's a bit of a mistake, though obviously it would be dangerous to move it and with not knowing what is an alpha. So that...
Oh, the Leopard is being commanded to go really close. The Mando could get a really nice close range hit.
Oh, artillery hitting the Mando though, stressing it out, meaning that its aim time is worse than the one of the Leo. The Mando trying to rotate around the flank. It gets a kill against the Fuchs Milan. Now the Leo 2A3 and the Mando here running
it behind it.
around it. Oh! They're so close. But yeah, no stabilizer here. It gets into the smoke. It gets into the smoke. Jite coming up here with the C90. Oh, it gets a good hit, but it will get shut down in the close range shot. Can Jite get close enough to at least stop the Leo? No, the smoke blocks it from seeing it. It has 4 C90s, but it can't see it. And with that, we will go back to a +2. +2 will still be enough to get into a draw situation, but not into a win situation here for Tortic. So Leo 23 here with the clutch kill. Not quite fast enough pushing up there. Bit of a mistake there. It could have moved faster early on. So yeah, Leo 23 here getting the kill. Will get killed off here with the C90, but no CV close enough. Only one CV left on the battlefield, and it might have even been missed by Tortic at this point. Yeah, it only now starts moving, but with 1 minute 27 won't reach that in time. So with 1 minute 20 here, that's still more than 100 points. That means that Tortic will stay lower than Scoof in points, but will be closer than 100 points, which means that it will be a draw, and with that, they will get a point for this map, with one other point going to Scoof, and Scoof will be winning with a 3-1 lead for the group stage, basically.
Yeah, I mean the Foxtrot was underdefended for a long time, and like Tortic was doing this like moderate, slight, slow pushing with the like Tiradores, and did have a lot of the information about how little there was of and how easy it would at least to get into the zone, not necessarily conquer it. And I think with the units around, they could have maybe committed to this earlier, and it would have probably also helped in that Delta fight by drawing away resources and forcing them to maneuver in a different way. And also the getting into Charlie could have happened way earlier. There are helicopters, recon helicopters, even combat helicopters that we're now seeing from Tortic coming in, the cannon equipped. All of these could have maybe just screened a little bit more, found out that the enemy had been completely spent in that middle fight. But this did not end up happening. An amazing showing from Tortic. And like we were, of course, wondering about the zero wet picks of not just the Leopard 2s, but also of a lot of the infantry, the Panzer Grenadiers. And I think we saw the reason why Scuff picked those zero wet units. And it's because I think Scuff correctly assumed that this Ica fight was going to be a constant grind against low-tech attacks by, I'd say, the infantry. The problem with the infantry is that the Spanish infantry is going to beat the West German infantry anyways. So putting your guys on zero vet is just going to add into that fact. I don't know what the proper answer there was, but Scuff obviously wanted the numbers. With the Leo 2, I understand, because on this map, the Leo 2s were not operating independently. They were constantly next to the leader tank. And I think if Scuff had opted for a smaller number of Leos, it would have been way more easy for Tortic to get a few lucky hits in with either aircraft or infantry side shots and then win the game. And yeah, excellent showing. The KDR kind of looks like this, I think, because at the end point of the game, Scoof was just sending guys out there to die to delay and successfully delay the Spanish attack.
Yeah, really, really well done job by both of these players, and really showing that, yeah, the first game was down to a bad opener, not down to a lack of skill on Tortic's side. So they got a point here out of Scoof. That is a nice achievement, but in the end is not going to bring them that much closer to the playoffs, but keeps their chances up, meaning that if they win all the other games, that obviously is going to be easy, and even if they maybe draw another game or so, that 1 point could come in clutch as a tiebreaker. So, yeah, Bevel Gun, aka Skiff, versus Tortic here, being a draw, and in the second game, and the win for Skiff in the first one, ending up in a 3-1. And that brings us to a Group D game. And in Group D, we have a lot of strong players, and the two strongest of them, most from the past tournaments, coming up here in the first group stage game. Procomi versus Stardeck. We have seen them face off a couple of times. Last time we saw them, Static had Procomi's number. Let's see if Procomi can retaliate this time around, or if Static once more can start fantastically into the group stage and maybe leave a chance open once more for Procomi getting eliminated in the group stage. Quick break, guys, and then we're gonna be back with Static versus Procomi, which likely going to be the highlight of the day because that is just two of the best Warner players of all time facing off against each other here. And here we go, everybody. Stardeck versus Procomi, finishing off the first stream of the season with a banger. As this one will get us a nice indication of who might be a favorite for this season, and who might maybe even have to struggle against once more for getting it out of the group stage, as those two likely the favorites of their group. But obviously, any point that you drop brings you a bit closer to not being that anymore. So let's see how this goes, as the first game that we got up here between these two is going to be pretty exciting. 9th versus 9th, with 9th US versus the 9th uh, German
Panzer.
Panzer Division, East German Panzer Division, and all of that on the airport. Second matchup, the really aggressive division once more here from Stardeck with 20th Panzerna versus 27th, one of Pro Commie's favorites and one of his best divisions as well there on Vertigo, so two older maps. And yeah, Stardeck last season did it with aggressive openers, so makes sense that he will try that again here, as this is a pretty classic Stardeck kind of playstyle here.
Yes, hold on. I'm just hugging the electrical heater next to me. Yeah, so this, if you look at the Stardeck's deployment here, we see this is basically like the high-level recon rush. And when I say high level, I don't mean it's necessarily strategically really that different, but these are just extremely high-level recon units. Very expensive, pretty well armed with AGLs and TOW-2 missiles. And the FAVs here have 120 road speed. They are incredibly fast. Also, the sniper M82s in great positions. They can do a lot of damage, even to like relatively armored vehicles. The issue here is that, and the JOH 58Cs are recon helicopters armed with 20mm cannons, and they only have 150 rounds, but that's enough to kill like a unit or two, especially a key unit early on. And the problem when you're doing recon rushing is that recon rushing is basically never worthwhile points-wise, because you're both sacrificing your recon units for the rest of the game. You're sacrificing slots for your recon units, so you may have had to remove a more solid long-term unit to achieve this. And also, like, these units are just expensive. Like uh, the FAV TOW-2 has only 4 shots and it's 100 points. All of these require quite a bit of micro, and if the enemy realizes what's happening, they can, especially somebody on Pro Commies level, they understand what it costs for an opener to look like this, and they probably can punish you for it. With the limited number of actual follow-up troops, a couple of light rifle squads and some AA guns, single NG tow, even if this succeeds, it will put Stardeck into if Stardeck doesn't trade up very well early on, it puts Stardeck in a position where they don't have the solid front line, and the enemy playing one of their comfort divisions. 9th Panzer is one of Pro Commie's main ones, very well drilled, very, very efficient, with a bunch of BMP-1s that are always used and positioned excellently, not to mention the Mi-2 urns, which will be able to just rocket fire those cheap, low health dune buggies out. This is it looks like it's a massive risk, and there's a reason why people don't do this kind of gameplay in Warno unless they're really confident, unless they're really like confident in what's going on here. And yeah, I'm kind of excited. I think, yeah, Pro Commie is spotting this now. Seeing 4 helicopters should tell you what's coming out here. MI Igla is pretty close to the front line, can start opening fire soon.
Yeah, JOH 58Cs pushing forward, BMP-1s pushing forward as well, as the Igla does get out to deal with those helicopters and gets a hit there. Another Igla coming around, so these helicopters have to get back, but the space has been won. Like, the area has been taken control over. Zulu and Echo both connected there. The high rises even can be manned now with these units, so you want to be careful that they can't get shot up immediately by all the enemy fire support units. The sniper there has to be a bit careful. as the Iglas chew through the JOHs, but those are losses that you expect. The TOW2 here has to be careful. Sniper goes down to the Me2 urn. That's a bit of a dangerous thing. Stinger unit here, a bit too far in the rear. The F-16 Pave Claw comes around getting a coup before and stunning down the Shilka. Ooh, really aggressive play here from Stardeck, going after the enemy AA, and that kind of indicates where they want to push this game to. F-16 pushed out, not cost efficient in the minute. Getting the coup is nice, but your F-16 is more expensive, meaning that you once more have a deficit on ground forces right now on the front line. And that means that you kind of have to buy enough time with the few units that you have on the front line now to get more value out of it, out of the next run. And the next F-16 AT already coming around, try to get a kill onto one of the T-72s, or at least get enough other units killed down with its good cannons here, not getting a hit on the T-72 with the first missile.
Yeah, the two FA-16s are 2 minutes income. They are 260, and they are a significant threat here, especially now that they bursted down and burst down the Shilka as well. The Igla getting a little bit of a vengeance hit here, but the coup transition from Pro Commi is more than enough to deal with this on the long term. There's only so many of those engagements that you can take. Only so many times your recon is going to be spotting the AA anyways. And the issue here now is Stardeck is basically, as I said, is going to have to buy time to rebuild an actual front line. But Pro Commi is using these cheap and very effective heavy rocket planes, the Su-22s. And the first rocket plane, the first attack destroyed the VAD's AA gun. And now the Stinger is getting bursted down. And now there's no AA. Now it's just full-on pro-commi air supremacy. When no, there's actually a second VADS, but it's pretty far away from actually doing anything relevant. This is an excellent position for pro-commi, even if there is a slight tick for Stardeck. Stardeck is not buying infantry reinforcement, just some TOWs, some recon units. A leader is going down, trying to secure the spots. Pro Commi is playing this rather passively, just taking slow engagements and microing their airplanes. But especially the rocket plane transition here for Pro Commi, it's I think it's gonna pay itself off really quickly. And now with the coup in the air, a second coup coming out here.
Ooh, yeah, F-16 AT going in, getting the T-72 kill, but flying directly over Igla and Coop. Gets it, but the Igla doesn't get hit by the Coop once more, as the Coops come in, surprisingly, for Pro Commis at 0 vet here. Oh, well, no, the first one was at 2 vet, right? Like, that was the classic Pro Commi opener, and that one got killed. So, yeah, now it's 0 vet Coops, so the F-16s now have it a bit easier to survive these engagements there, and the F-16 AT here getting an important kill, keeping Pro Commi on the back foot. F-15 failed to kill off the MiG-23. That was a bit unfortunate there for Stardeck, but he got good engagements out of his airplanes otherwise. So, yeah, he can, like, RNG balances out there over time. So, not getting the kill of the F-15, but not losing the F-16 on the other side. That is just fair RNG over time. And FAV here moving around. TOW2A will move into the high rise here. Yes. We have another Su-22 rocket plane, and those rocket planes here are really the way back for Pro Commi here right now, because his infantry is not good enough to push into the enemy infantry here, but his rocket planes just can take out units like this. Like the Sniper especially is really vulnerable because it's only a 2-man squad, so those big rockets immediately annihilate them. And yeah, without any good long-range AA here on the battlefield, and you get Ihawks as Stardeck's deck, but he is using VDS and Stingers here instead. That is a problem here. Oh no, you don't get Ihawks, you get Chaparrals, right? Yeah, I'm thinking about 6. You get the Chappies. Right. Yeah.
There are like Avengers, there are good AA units out there, but just not the ones that hard counter the Su-22 M4. And unlike the Polish ones, these Su-22 rockets don't have AA missiles, don't have heat seekers, but it also means that they are just a little bit cheaper at that. So and you can see the supply cost of resupplying those 4 super heavy rockets is so small that the planes are just constantly in the air. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you get 3 per card when it comes to those rocket planes.
Yes.
So very card efficient as well.
Yeah, we see the first TLCV GLH here coming out, and that is a great unit at dealing with most of the ground units on the other side. Like all the DMP1s can't retaliate because the ATGMs are too slow, and the T-72s can get outranged, and they are relatively slow, so the missiles will land on target as well. But they obviously aren't great when the enemy has SU-22 rockets, and the SU-22 rockets get the 2-2A here already. If they get the COCH as well, then you are in big trouble here. So F-15s have to come around again. Yeah, another F-15 here in the sky. But MiG-23 MLA and an MF there on the other side. So 3 fighters, and 3 fighters will beat 1 fighter just by pure stress alone. We have another F-16 seat and the AT coming around again. But oh no, the engagement was taken by the Eagle alone, and the mix here can overwhelm the planes one by one, get 2 kills. No kills on them here, as the F-15 took the fight on its own. The siege plane should have been in front of it. Instead, it was the other way around, and that is a bit of a tragedy here. Siege plane trying to get the coup, finds the coup at least. So at least that goes the way of Static, but Static needs to get replacements for those F-15s, and that is not going to be easy to afford at this point with all the fights on the front line.
Yeah, like looking at Static's front line is slowly kind of building itself up, but it's still very slow. Like it's barely like barely dealing with the units lost to the Su-22 rockets. And once again, 2 of them are going to be diving. One of them the Bats, one of them the Light Rifles Dragon, and the PKM teams, the cheap kind of machine gun screening teams that Pro Commie is using to just kind of gain ground. They are going to both spot units for the airplanes and also just they're just so cheap and expensive. It's not even worth for the F-16 to die, like try to dive at them. And the Pro Commie will find out in a moment that there is basically nothing defending Echo, and when that happens, I think they're gonna realize that the going to just fortify Echo completely and take these long-range defensive positions that 9th Panzer can defend extremely efficiently against an infantry division like 9th Infantry.
The VADS is getting run over by the Su-22s here right now because they're not in cover, so the Su-22 just spots them time and again, and they have the double 30mm cannons and the big rockets to just run them down, and there goes the GLA
Hellfire.
Oh, Warlord Shellfire is still alive, and the Su-22 is running out of ammo here. One still has 32 rounds though, so it has to break line of sight here. Stinger and VADS trying to get some hits here, but just not a good enough concentration of these units. 2 more Stinger teams coming up. That might change that, but the +3 currently is great for Static. The situation on the ground starts to swing around though, thanks to those Su-22s here. They really have done a pretty decent job, and yeah, the AGLs have to fall back here. National Guard rifle leader on the fire, as the Meteor does do a good job here. Well, it's the Folds are in good spots, but yeah, the air combat here going in favor of Pro Commie right now is a big issue for our player in blue.
Yeah, you really don't want to put 9th Panzer into a position where they can just like play safely for 10 minutes while buying their relatively weak air tab and just completely bully you out. Obviously, like the F-15s were the way to deal with this, and 2 F-15s have been bought and 2 F-15s have been shot down. One by the Coups, which are a natural counter. Sooner or later, they're going to penetrate through that 40% ECM. And the second one was when a masked group of 3 Pro Commie fighters faced down and just got good shots early on.
Yeah, it's also interesting to see Pro Commie is taking his fighters with a veterancy level. So that's why they're also more efficient than you usually would see them. But yeah, they come at 3 availability, those MiG-23s. He takes them at 1 vet, so that they actually have higher base accuracy and a bit better survivability as well by getting some basically extra ECM level as well. So the MiG-23s here are a bit better than you would expect them to be against your F-15s, and that's maybe also what led the Stardeck into some bad assessments of the situations in those fights. And yeah, he has another F-15 around now. Coop already stressed it out again though. And yeah, the MiG-23 MFs here still around in numbers, so the F-15 has to be really careful and has to fight with the Stingers assisting it.
Yeah, there's also like airplanes can be suppressed, which will force them to evacuate. And if you have enough like missiles flying towards you, the numerically disadvantaged troop, whether it generally the F-15s, can be and will be forced to just escape, which gives a bunch of free shots for the pursuing fighters as well. And now we're seeing they got flying over the Kub. The Kub is turned off. The seed plane is there, trying to bait them. Kub is turned back on, opening fire.
Gets a hit against the seed, but
massive hit.
Yeah, Iglas not getting a kill against the F-15s this time around. F-15s make it out, so MiG-23 going down. Still a decent win here for Stardeck in the air fight, meaning that the MiG-23 train can't just completely overwhelm him long term. And yeah, you said the stuff with the stress. By the way, did you know there was a bug for 2 years basically in the game after they introduced stress on miss and stuff, or just in general? It might even before airplanes could take stress, but when they get forced to fall back by stress, they went back up to their normal accuracy levels because they were the fallback basically negated their stress. So for ground units, that's so that a routed unit gets its speed back. But for planes, that obviously doesn't really matter. But instead it meant that the routed plane, when they turn around and still shoot one more AA missile on you, when they get routed, that last missile is more accurate than you would expect it to be. That is now changed, but that is a reason why often when you were like, oh yeah, I already have this plane on the route, it should not be that good right now, it still shut you down, and that was really frustrating. And it was in the game unnoticed for 2 years.
Sense, actually, makes a little sense based on my experience. Just gotta say.
Yeah, but now I found it when I looked at the stats of some routed planes. I was like, wait a minute, why does it have such good accuracy when I was looking in a replay? But it was in the game for so long, and nobody figured it out. And it's like, yeah, it made so much sense because it always felt weird how many hits you got from those routed planes.
Yeah, now looking at this Stardeck, 15 minutes in, Stardeck finally has some form of combined arms, still only on one part of the map, with some light rifles, recon, and M60s, supported by these guided munition howitzers, which, when working together with the recon units, can do like complete precision artillery strikes, and hasn't been firing that much here, with a lot Pro Commie basically keeping up the tempo of the game all the time. Now Pro Commie's tanks are now moving into Foxtrot. Moto Aufklärer are already almost at the zone, and with another MiG-23 just moving out here to maybe just this could be bad. This could be actually the F-15 could maybe just pursue this plane on long ranges. Okay, neither is pursuing each other. And once again, Stardeck having the seed constantly, the two seed planes out here, really shows what how like Stardeck considers his own win condition. Missing the Shilka, hitting the Shilka. The Kub is unarmed. There was a supply nearby, but it did not move into that. The seed plane has been pushed away now, so the Kubs can keep themselves on.
And the Eagle did go down. It got 2 kills, SU-22 and the MiG-23 got down, but 3 more MiG-23s still here, and that's the big issue here right now. That allows the Mi-24Ds to push forward, and the Stingers and the VADS here numbers are pretty low. The ground-launched Hellfires are in a bit of trouble as well, and it's now Pro Commie starting to get the tick up here. The fallback of Stardeck here continuing, but oh no. Yeah, the high veterancy MiG-23s here actually doing the job and getting the kill there onto the F-15. F-15 really not the plane that you want to go for into these close range fights with, like that. you had the better long-range missile. The MiG-23s are equipped with the R-23R, which is a good bit weaker than the M7M that you get on the F-15s. But yeah, in the short-range fights, when they get just enough missiles out of you by the numbers, they will get you down eventually. And light rifles here being pushed back in the north as well. So this +2 is real, and it's still 23 minutes to go for it. So this situation here is looking really, really dicey for our player in blue.
Yeah, and Procom is just kind of going through the motions, just sending in some BMP-1s to drive into the south point of Bravo. The Su-22 ATs are now out here supporting the rocket planes as well, and yeah, with the R-24 missiles, even though their accuracy is pretty low and you only get 2 of them, they still do massive suppression. So just having them out here, especially working together with the Coups, it's very effective in pushing away those Eagles, even if they hadn't had as much pretty decent RNG as they've been getting here, and even if Procomi hadn't done like near perfect air control in all of these engagements here, the one of the rules that I have in Warno is that it is not possible to it's not possible to use airplanes to just keep your enemy down. The airplanes have to move in tandem with some kind of a ground force that can keep up the fight. Airplanes are a support unit, and no matter how many pave claws you have, they're very well armed. They have the Mavericks, they have the cannon, they're really fast, they have good ECM at 30. It's just not enough. It doesn't compensate for the fact that there was nothing covering Bravo, and now Bravo needs to be conquered back. But after this TOW Cobra gets taken out, the BMPs and can just use the Malyutka missiles on long range against the M60s, and that is more than enough to keep them away.
Yeah, F-15 and seaplanes here moving around. Coop gets a shutout, immediately gets turned off afterwards. MiG-23 here being chased by the Eagle as another S-22 comes around. Pavlog gets the Coop, so that's a nice kill there. But as I said, the ground forces here just not quite numerous enough. The opener really well played by Procomi, realizing, as you pointed out at the beginning, if the enemy invests so much into the recon units, you will be ahead just in pure fighting strength on the ground, and you just have to slowly advance with it and give 9th the ground. 9th infantry can take that ground, but it can't hold it as easily if you push it early enough before it can just get enough AA and ATGMs and a couple of good infantry units around. Seaplane here getting another coup, so all of that is working out nicely. F-16 gets a kill onto the T-72. A reversal through the south, a capture of Foxtrot, and a reversal through the south might be the way for StarTech to win this still, because they are 1,000 point ahead here. But M60 goes down. S-22 AT gets the kill there. Nearly goes down to the F-16, but the F-16 not fast enough now to catch up in time. It's not going to get the kill there, and needs to get out of here now. Doesn't spot the T-72 in the middle, and yeah, doesn't really have anything going for it here right now, so should just get the hell out before Strela will find a hit. Bravo gets recaptured. Foxtrot really is the way for victory for StarTech right now. Not going to be easy. There is a decent amount of entrenchment here, but the TOW Cobras at least don't have that much going against it. 2 Eagler teams now on the battlefield though, so they still have to be careful. Fold gets shut down by the BRM. That's all pretty annoying. There are a couple better traits here in the south and a bit better deployment early on. Might help out here, but the rocket planes really destroyed so many of the random units sitting around for StarTech that they don't have the picket line anymore to just catch units like the BRM breaking through into their rear.
Yeah, and it is the law of Warno dynamics. Every unit concentration has their own relative unit diffusion, and the unit concentration of just having all of that recon out there meant that there was not enough fundamentals. And somebody like ProComi, when they recognize that, that basically means that they get to play exactly the way they want. And we haven't seen ProComi take any risks here, and I don't really think they needed to take any risks. Like the game was laid out from the start, and when ProComi realized they hadn't lost a critical amount of units for that recon rush, that's just a solid, reliable path towards winning the match. Oh, and now finding the seed plane. Stardeck might have actually forgotten it there. Is that the second seed plane down now?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
And yeah, this situation here now is he in general just doesn't have enough air force anymore. Like Ninth has great planes, but it doesn't have a lot of planes. Your air slots are actually surprisingly limited, though. And if you start losing them, it can fall apart relatively quickly there. And yeah, the units that you get here are all defensive units. You want to play from a taking an advantage point with Ninth, and the point tick went okay, but the defensive line just wasn't solid enough. And ProComi with 9th Panzer Grenadier, it's not the fastest division, but for Panzer Division, for Tank Division, it's still relatively cost efficient, and it can throw random units across the board with stuff like the Su-22s and a lot of BMP-1 infantry units that can just go places and check out if there's something, and if there's nothing there, then they just can push a couple of units into that point and just get it swarmed, and that's exactly what happened here. But on the other side, the COCV GLH, for example, not really cost efficient against BMP-1s, as that is a pretty pricey unit, 110 points to shoot at 35 points of IFVs.
Yeah, speaking of cost efficient, the Grad Barrage, the RM70 firing at the Hellfire, taking it out, driving off the AGLs. And yeah, this is ProComi is not playing with his food here. ProComi is just trying to play the safest game possible, taking no risks, no moments or vulnerabilities for Stardeck to actually exploit. It's kind of ProComi is playing the anti-Stardeck game, playing the exact opposite of the way that that Stardeck opened this up, and especially when it comes to the way that these Eagles have just not performed in securing air supremacy. It's like it's working out. It's working out well for ProComi. Just slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, MiG-23 here chasing the F-15, and there's no AA here. So the MiG-23s can just dive super deep into the airspace. +2 still going on. Stardeck still desperately trying to hold on to the point lead here, but the +2 already good enough here with 15 minutes still remaining, and ProComi likely going to get into Bravo. Eagle here super low now. He is staying alive, but is going to be out for a long time, and we have another F-16 FA with the paved claw coming in here. Try to deal with some BMP-1s and T-72s. Gets shots out against the T-72s. Does get a hit, but not quite the kill. And flies over a lot of Eaglas here, which don't quite get the kill, but once more a really damaged plane that will be out long for repairs. So the situation here still relatively dangerous for Stardeck, and the situation of getting into any points maybe can happen at Zulu, but that's the only way here, I believe, that he could still get around, and he at the same time would still have to hold on to Bravo, and that is under a lot of attack right now as well. The ground launched Hellfire there is in a good spot, finds the storm. BMP-1's relatively low, so there is still a bit of hope here, but it's going to be really tough to keep holding on to any of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a Tow Cobra that is doing some damage here, but also just Estrella needs to move into position, and the Cobra is done. There are 2 Avengers there, but those 2 Avengers can only really punish a plane that has already driven or flown over them. The RM70 tries to hunt down the second cockpit, doesn't manage to do that, and now a Fagot missile is following it.
Yeah,
Barely missing, barely moving out of the range.
Schützen pushing forward. M60 A3s rolling around. Arm 70 trying to get another kill there. On it now. Oh, might get it this time with the stun. Not quite. It stays alive, moves away. But yeah, the National Guard leader needs to get into the north. BMP-1 in infantry on the way. That is actually going quite nicely here for Startek. That is going to move in there and get the capture point. But Mi-24 on the way, only one stinger around there. National Guard tow. That's pretty cost efficient at dealing with the BMP-1s. So that's a nice unit, but more infantry needed in the north. And at the same time, so you somehow need to hold down in Bravo. Both things not easy here.
Yeah. Oh, there was a siege plane is still coming up and flying around the northern area, but there are no coups or shilgas that way. Infantry reinforcements, the BMP-2, are going in to contest the northern zone. There's also a helicopter, but this is especially if the helicopter can just do a little bit of damage, maybe eliminate an enemy infantry unit here, should be more than enough for the BMP-2s to capture all of this back. Meanwhile, down south, the Stardex Motorschützen is getting a great visibility here, but all of the rest of the troops are missing. The T-72 losing the fight, actually losing the fight properly against the M60s, and the AT plane earlier targeted the command tank, got perfect shots and missed both of them. So a little bit of bad luck for ProCommie. Stardeck now driving close to the Motorschützen. Motorschützen is gonna be shot down by the tow Cobra, but at least it gets a shot off, second shot off against the command tank.
Even Avenger here helping out with the 50 cal. COCV moving around. MiG-23 coming in, trying to get a shot there, but the Avengers can retaliate now. MiG-23 is flying a bit too close there. The tow Cobra now going for the SPW, but there is a Strela there as well. Yeah, the infantry reinforcements here for Stardeck in the south are nice. Issue is that at the same time, Stardeck kind of needs to defend the north, and there's just not enough there as the SPW is rotating up there. The one in the south goes down, so that will stop the take for now, but still 11 minutes remaining. A +2 here is more than enough to win this for ProCommie, and Stardeck is only going to keep this 0 up for a good bit. But the reinforcements of Stardeck now coming up for the north are a bit late. So now the only hope once more is going to be going a push towards Foxtrot with the latest successes in the south. But without the tow Cobra, with limited recon here, and only a couple of M60s against T-72s and so on, that's still not going to be easy. Reinforcements with another T-72 MUV already on the way, as the SPW about to get into the north again. Even a +1 would still be enough, so even if the National Guard rifle leader somehow holds on to that corner, that would be enough, which likely is not going to happen. Cluster bomber coming around for Stardeck. That's another new plane that will go after T-72 MUV. AA on ProCommie's side, out of ammunition, so the cluster bomber likely going to find the kill there. Yes, it does. Iglas all over the board, really low on ammunition right now. Bow launcher going after Malyutka as AGLs go down. +1 here, back for Stardeck, but the National Guard rifle leader in a lot of trouble here. A lot of fire support against it, including the BMP-2s, so this situation here really, really desperate right now for Stardeck.
Yeah, and ground launch Hellfire barely out of ammunition. Both sides really lacking on supply when it needs. ProCommie is buying it to constantly keep up the ATGMs and the AA units here. But yeah, now ProCommie is just buying waves and waves of zero-vet BMP2. So I think this is kind of the final phase of just building up and putting mass out there. ProCommie understands that the +1 and soon to be +2 is more than enough. So now it's just Storms, long-range defenses, Conqueror's missiles, just keep them at it. The enemy, Stardeck here, has played everything that there is. The FA-16s, the seeds are not, especially the FA-16s now, seeds, they're not in the... They don't have the potential to actually change the game that much anymore. So Yeah, three tank attack happening against a very wide front line of two T-72s and a bunch of ATGMs.
Yeah, SC22 M4K80 coming around here again and trying to get some ATGMs on target again. As the M60A3 trying to get pushed forward, but there's just way too much. Cluster bombers would need to get a lot of hit whilst nothing else gets killed, and there goes the M60CV, and with that, the chance of getting into that zone. M60 in the north, outnumbered here heavily as well. A lot of BMP2s there around that could kill it. Eagle goes really deep, a bit too deep, as gets the kill against the S22. Troop not being turned on, keeps it alive here as well, so F15 in a bit of trouble as Strela gets fire up again, but Procomi not even microing there at this point. +2 keeps them ticking closer and closer, whilst the M60 tries to push through the north. BMP2s with a lot of ATGMs flying towards them, getting some hits here. Humvito moving around, getting around the corner as we see more planes flying in. F15 makes it out once more, but yeah, this is Procomi's game, and this is really showing that how strong they are in a classical uh, game, and why Static tries to rush them, and also Static's opener showed why it worked last season, because they have really thought out and well prepared setups. Static always goes into a game with a plan, and he always comes in with a good idea, but in this one
Does
it
he
just
really?
doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, some of the plans are wacky, and I appreciate it, but I just feel like in this one the plan could have been honed a little bit. Just replace like two of those gunship recon helicopters with ATGMs or infantry units down the ground, just like a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it would have gotten better.
or a Stinger, so that
Yeah,
the SC-2022s don't bully you as much as they did. And yeah, we see M60s rolling around, trying to get the BMP2s killed. M60s rolling up behind it as well, so this is going to be quite interesting. And yeah, this game here is over now with the Procomi getting ahead. Well, not quite. It could still get a draw, but yeah, it's going to be over in a minute when Procomi is 100 points ahead, because there's no way that I can get a tick on this map. And yeah, by now there's so many BMP2s up there, so there comes the surrender. Procomi winning game 1. Really well executed 9th Panzer. And yeah, really well played by one of the greatest of all times. The only two-time WARNO League champion so far. Last season wasn't the strongest performance of the Pro Comi. Let's see if he can come back full strength this season. Game number 1 looked like that might be the case.
yeah. I would. For us, this was a nice, relaxing match in which we could, keep our voices a little bit. But the like pro commies had a very purposeful strategy right from the get-go, and that strategy was the air snowball, which is where you exploit the enemy's weakness, knowing that they could not have done proper air defenses, and you just target everything, every stinger, every VADS. You send helicopters out there, and you see what fires at the helicopters, and then you immediately send a rocket plane, and you just keep doing that. You keep doing that, and you gain this massive early game advantage of just getting free damage. And you cannot allow yourself into that kind of position. You can't take risks that could let Pro Comi to do that to you, because Pro Comi, like, ninth is a comfort division for him. I'm sure, like the signals, the lights behind his eyes just flashing when he realized that he can get like the most pitch perfect air snowball possible.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see if Procomi can get a similarly safe and secure opener out on Vertigo as well, or if Sonic with 20th Panzer can break the 27th, because 27th is a division that needs to get a relatively calm and low loss environment in the early game as well to get all its power onto the board. While 20th Panzer usually, Panzer wants to go punch by punch and wants to go for the trades as well, because it can get a really cost efficient combine arms still around T-72s out there. So this is going to be an interesting game on Vertigo. Let's see if Static can nail the opener there, or if ProCommie once more can stall it out and grind Static down in the long game. Quick break, and then we're going to be back with game number 2. And here we go, everybody. Game number 2, Static versus ProCommie. And that one should be a pretty hot one. Hey, and thanks there for all the guys subscribing today. Tully, Doozy, Christian Taste. Much appreciated. Thanks to all the YouTube members as well. The number has gone up nicely lately. So yeah, thanks to all of you appreciating the content and giving back a bit there with that. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
And with that said, let's get into this final game of the day here. And let's see what we can get here out of this chloride.
Yeah, and not with that said, thank you QAnon69 42069 for following me on my stream. I forgot to shout you out as I generally do. I do stream on my own. I was probably going to do it today if Protoss hadn't asked me to cast these. But yeah, so what we have here seems to be way more conventional. ProCommie going in with the high-tech Soviet division of 27th. Very reliable Vertigo pick, considering the BMP3s are excellent at holding long ranges, and also like the areas in which people are going to fortify with infantry, like around Anna or Boris or Dimitri, they're pretty predictable, so you can position BMP3s as amazing fire support if needed. And also 27th just gets a huge amount of T-80BVs, so they can go in with the long range scaling against the best of them. And 20th Panzerna is a single tech level lower than the Soviets. It's the highest tech Polish division, but Poland, being an imperial subject, was not given the nicest toys. So they have to deal with T-72s. The T-72s here basically means that they can can bring out numbers early on and keep those numbers up, but is also going to have to first of all, watch out for the ATGMs, because these T-72M models don't have smoke and only have 15 front armor. Second of all, they don't have massive, like the greatest ATGMs, not a lot of Conquerors missiles, for instance, which would be the ones to do damage to the T-80BVs. So the Stardeck is going to want to attack the enemy right from the opener, and then keep up a certain amount of pressure to compensate for the fact that it's going to be very expensive. Much like 8th Infantry, 27th is not really that great at coming back from having lost a bunch of units. And we're seeing that ProCommie is not opening with any tanks, instead getting 2 of the mid-range Tor AA missiles, both of them up-vetted, by the way, so in ProCommie style. Also up-vetted BMP3s, which are expensive. They are 100 points plus 40 for the Motostrelki RPG 27s. And the Polish get a bunch of units that are really great in the opener. The Honker-Rus, the really fast special forces car with their special forces recon units in there. Some Mi-2 recon helicopters with quad machine guns, and the Salamandras, which are kind of low-tech attack helicopters with the Malyutkas. A great unit to just have around in the opener because they can maybe cut off a reinforcing enemy unit early on.
Yeah, Honkarus here really going pedal to the metal, crossing the open field and towards Boris, and trying to get in there before the Spetsnaz would quite make it. But the Spetsnaz, they might unload a bit too late. If they would have unloaded now, they could have gotten all of this. It's still close. But no, BTR-80 goes down, and with that, the Spetsnaz are kind of toast here, as the Honkarus can just fire them onto them and stress them completely down, and then get the kill here. As the Special Redka slowed down, Rospecialny pushing closer. They don't have the highest DPS, but the Honkarus has great DPS, so Special Redka getting gunned down, and that is a big problem, because you want that tree line if you are playing around BMP3s. So losing Boris here, not a great start for ProCommy's game plan, as that means the T-72s here can just roll on further forward. I'm a bit surprised that we didn't see a helicopter opener out of the 27th, as they have a Mi-24 that they can forward deploy, and that is pretty good against openers like this. Obviously, it's a bit risky if the enemy brings a fighter and all, but yeah, still might be worthwhile for coming around here, trying to get the shots on the helicopter. But yeah, the big question is, how do you deal with the close-range T-72s yet? And now as ProCommy, and the answer might be you kind of don't.
Yeah, I mean, you just you want those T-72s to engage you on long range, where you can do reliable damage to them with the Bastion missiles of the BMP-3s. You want the Sprut to be able to fire at them, and the Sprut is in a pretty nice position here. It's a very high penetration, though low accuracy and low range gun, kind of a oversized AT gun, a designed dead end.
BMP3 gets a side shot together with Sprut against the first T-72, so that's a way of how you maybe get it. RPG-27 has 21 penetration as well, so the T-72s have to be careful there too. And we have a Krut coming in with immediate fire on the whole situation, though it's firing from such a long range that it will do good stress damage here on the forest, and it will split the infantry and the tanks, but it doesn't really do a lot of damage. So T-72s here pushed out for now, allowing the infantry fights to go ProCommy's way. That Krut buy and that Krut shot is something that you wouldn't see out of other players. This is a really pro-commy answer to the problem, and a really well executed one here right now, allowing ProCommy to get infantry back into that tree line. So the movement there a bit bad with the RPG-27 Motostrelki, leading to that one just getting gunned down. So in the end, he's not going to get close to the T-72s. So situation here, in the end, not that terrible for Stardeck after all. Sprut here will get a shot out. Maybe no, does even get shot down before it can do so. BMP3s not finding a shot against the Honkarus. The line of sight there just a bit too thin. And one BMP3 goes down to the T-72s in return. So in the end, the Krut was a great plan. Execution here, somewhat flawed. And with that, Stardeck is still in a great spot here.
Yeah, up north here, we're seeing some skirmishing, largely with the Stardeck's recon units trying to secure this area with aggression and taking up a very nice kind of trying to surround the enemy. But with the Mi-24V, this is a armed with Iglas and a bunch of rockets and a pretty decent cannon, more than enough to fight all of this off. Hinds are armored, so they should be able to deal with at least a few shots from the Honkaruses. And yeah, the Grad is reloading right now, and we still don't see any tanks coming out of ProCommy's side, but Mi-24 HE getting shot down by the Taurus. Taurus nowadays pretty functional. Some time ago they got a much needed range buff, and they've been kicking ass ever since. With the BMP3s are now there's only a single one in a long range position, and it is dueling against this Fagot missile in the Citadel. Earlier on, two of those BMPs managed to fight off one of the fagots there, but those are pretty cheap and fast to replace. SU-17 AT, one of the few air cards of the
Oh, and it goes down to the coop here before it can get a shot out against the T-72s in the south, and these T-72s are just pushing forward now. Yeah, Static might have found another good opener here. Brokomi with a bit of a weird opener there. Like, that opener would have been good against somebody who you know is playing often defensive openers as well, and is giving you a bit of time to set up, but against Static, where you know that he's doing the exact opposite every single time you played against him in the last year, like, doing that as Brokomi is just a bit wild here. The BMP3 opener, for sure, a bit of an odd one. And yeah, Static now on the +3, and Brokomi basically kind of dead in the water here. Nothing to deal with those T-72s around on the battlefield here right now. And they just keep on pushing even towards Paul right now.
Yeah, this is like I could see what Pro Comi was getting at there, but if you're playing against 20th Panchana, if you're playing against the Polish in general, you're always going to get honkered. The honkers are like a constant. You're never not getting honkered. So the Spetsnazvedka in the front line, you know, you want to have that guy out there to just exist as a front line of some kind, but like something to punch the enemy in the nose at the start, like a helicopter, like even a bomber could have done that. But just the pure reliance on these BMP3s, which are great, amazing against infantry targets and soft targets, and but against tanks, they are support vehicles. Their APGMs are so great, and they do great suppression. They're very accurate. They're fast. The 6 of them, and if you just have the tank in the front line to force the enemy to stand still for a moment to engage, that's when the BMPs can start being value.
Yeah, MiG-29 here coming around. Not quite getting the kill there. Coop is retaliating. Tor getting hunted down by a T-72 in the forest. MiG-21 does go down, but T-72s just being able to afford to go into the forest to hunt down Tors is just such a wild thing. Like, this just shows how far ahead Static is in this game. Has to be a bit careful to not get too wild about it, but really just a bit careful. Not really careful about it, as he has a lot of room and space and points to play with here with the +4 going on. And BMP3s are just terrible at the offense. Like, they're way too expensive for being endangered by any enemy ATGMs, so you really want to use them as defensive tools or behind a big wall of T-80s and infantry where they can then just be used as fire support. BMP3 here might get just killed by a BMP1. Smokes off.
It doesn't even have to be a big wall. It can literally just be a tank. If it's on long range and if you control it well enough, that single tank can make all the difference. But here we didn't have the single tank. We didn't have the unit that can engage, that can get closer, and that can define the fighting line. And because that unit didn't exist, Stardeck could just drive into the forest. And now, if we look at the follow-up here, it's T-72 Wilk, T-72M, T-72 Wilk, BMP-1, Shilka is coming in here as well. Like, this is exactly what the Polish want here. And
yeah, it all comes down to
Procomi forget to get tanks. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, and also the misdeployment of the Spetsnaz in the early game, and that's just a really weird mistake. Like, he just deployed it at the wrong part of that forest. You always deploy it at the corner closer to you instead of the far corner, because the far corner, you can even get shot at from the other tree line. So it's not just that against forward deployments like the Honkaroos you would lose there, but also against anything that can get into the other forest can shoot at you there. So you always deploy at your corner. You already spot the road from there, and then you would have killed the Honkaroos on the way in, or at least not have lost your BTR-80, so that the enemy would have taken a lot longer of dealing with you, so that your reinforcements arrive, and then you get there before the T-72 get, and yeah, all of that just cost him the game, basically.
BMP-3 side shots by the T-72, no. It's like 155-point unit just one-shotting a 100-point unit. Hurts.
Yeah, Coop here, trying to get some hits, still pushing forward. and more T-72s moving in here. Akatsuya coming around, but yeah, 0 tanks here on the side of Pro Komi still. This is such a weird way of playing the 27th, and it makes sense if he gets his AT gun into play. We have seen that work in the past. Like, the way that he uses the Spruts is the best of any player in the game. The Sprut is a unit that often gets overlooked, and people often haven't used it in the past. And then 27th often just wasn't efficient enough in the early game and just lost because of that. And when he started to bring the Sprut back into the play, his navigation of the early game looked pretty great against players like Team and Place and so on in the past. But in this game here, yeah, it was all about that Honkaroos getting through. And the Honkaroos gameplay and the Polish in general have been nerfed a good couple of times by now, but the raw power of that opener is still just there, and it worked out here. So really going strongly now for Stardeck here. And once more, he gets Brokomi with an opener and kind of working on his nemesis role against Brokomi here. Because few
Yeah, and
players
this is
have gotten so many tournament games out of Brokomi as Stardeck at this point, if any other player actually.
yeah. I don't know if this. I didn't check if this was who picked this map, but this is absolutely a Stardeck map. This is a map where Stardeck has done some of the wackiest stuff into success before, and probably because it is so linear and so predictable. And I'm not saying this in a negative way, but there are very like mechanical calculating movements that you have to do on this map to move from one place to the other. It really does not reward risk or risk taking that much. So Stardeck, has to know exactly the right balance of risk and not risk. And we can compare this to the airplane map where just the risk balancing was completely out of whack.
Yeah, Boris here getting good shots out. A21 in danger, goes down, but doesn't all not matter anymore. B24 is coming around. +4 is getting the tick up here, and Sadek even can push for the rear zone at this point because there's nothing there to stop him. He has a Malyutka P even on the rear line here, and BMP3 is just not the way. It's a weird, funny meme play here of Procomi of going mass BMP3, but yeah, he needed to have a smoother opener for achieving this, and if you have to push with BMP3s, you are always in trouble.
Yeah, and it's not like the T-72s were like an overpowering super weapon at that point. Like that engagement, pro Comi, especially with if the Grad would have been around there was the AT plane could have participated, the AT helicopters could have participated. The front line just had to hold like 3 minutes longer for stuff to actually start happening, and it didn't.
Yeah, Malyutka P's here actually getting kills. Akatsuya going down. A BMP3 got killed by Malyutka P because it just couldn't see it. So started getting some nice value out of these pretty cheap and usually relatively mediocre ATGM vehicles. But yeah, you have to respect them, and if you are stretched as thin as Procomi in this, then they can just get you. So yeah, 2.5 minutes here. Stardeck did take his T-72 back instead of pushing it into Paul, was a bit scared of the BMP3. Likely could have just moved in there, but it doesn't really matter. 2 minutes to victory here, and Procomi is going to once more lose some points in the group stage. But he at least gets one map here against Stardeck, so that gets him a better chance than last season. And I still think he is the favorite of in the group here nonetheless. As yeah, if he just navigates the early game a bit better, he is still an absolute powerhouse. We saw that in game 1. And Stardeck is a really good player in that regard as well, but you could just see the difference there between good or very good and great. And yeah, Procomi just really smacking him there in the first one, but Stardeck getting the revenge here, getting the story arc to continue of Stardeck getting Procomi with wacky shenanigans. And this one, it wasn't even that wacky. It was a classic skiffic kind of opener here, and Stardeck just executing it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said everything I had to say about this. I'm kind of just flabbergasted about Pro Comi just allowing that very obvious like hole to exist in his defenses. Like maybe expected this brute to just perform way better. Maybe expected the fight to like the Spetsnaz Svedka to hold a little bit longer. And I don't know what the mistake was there, but lack of a tank in the big tank fight and only using the support units. That's a lot of overconfidence on Pro Comi's part, I think.
Yeah, good job, really well done here by this Static, and with that getting a draw, and with that finishing off the first day back into WARNO League, as Season 6 now is really officially on the way from the casting side of things as well. So that was a lot of fun, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Thanks for all the new follows. But yeah, once more, guys, if you haven't followed over at Thor's channel, you absolutely should do so. Link is in the chat right now. If you haven't clicked the claim code button on the Matcherino side of things, then you absolutely should do that as well to help out funding the tournament prize pool. It's completely free to click the claim code button up here. It's 25 cents. A lot of you have done so in the past. Yeah, and if we go through the 50 codes quickly, then we will get more of those codes quickly, and then more free money gets into the prize pool, paid out to these great players. And also all of it currently for this season will get mirrored by a anonymous community member, 1-to-1 with a up to $1,000 with a donation to Action Against Hunger. So clicking these claim code buttons also kind of donates to charity at the same time. So yeah, you can do that all with the link in the chat. And that said, guys, we end it here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Any final words from you, Claude?
P-Bat is streaming. Let's raid him.
Yeah, let's get you over to P-Bat. That is an awesome dude as well. Yeah, one of
P-Bat.
long time WARNO streamers at this point too. Has been around, always has been a nice solid rock of consistent good vibes as well. So let's get you over there, guys. See you all in the next one.